get you to the hospital and get help. So, get you the help that you need, man. So, yeah.
That was, I met your brother at Chili's. I don't know if you remember, 89, 1990 is when I met him, and I was like, you're Msuya, you're David. He's serving out there. Dave was the manager, and he was just the happy-go-lucky, funny,
Crazy, man, running around 1,000 miles an hour, man. Chili's, Garfield's, man, he was a bartender for many years, man. I mean, he almost had like a cult following of these. His bar was always full. Man, we'd go see him, and it would just be packed. And his tip jar, I remember him. I think tips alone. I mean, back then he was making like $1,000 a week just in tips alone.
He's so personable.
Yeah. It was like he had this motto. Which was, if you're having a bad day, go see Dave because he's having a worse one.
Right. That's awesome. But, yeah, he's so personable and so just perfect, man. It's like that's his thing.
Yeah. He's always been outspoken, man. Always been outspoken.
But let's, so we'll kind of start at the beginning. I remember you at Harding.
Yeah.
And so where'd you grow up at? Where'd you reside back when you were a little squirt in your father's eye?
Yeah, a little squirt back when I had hair and a little mini afro. Well, actually, man, I guess my whole journey or my whole story started, man. I mean, I was born in Tanzania, Eastern Africa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in a city called Dar es Salaam, and it's a coastal city. Now, my mother is actually from Oklahoma, or she was. I mean, past tense, she passed away in 2013. And my father was from Tanzania. Now, the next question I always get asked when I tell that story is, well, she was from Tanzania, and she's from Oklahoma, and he's from Tanzania. How'd they meet? And I was like, so I have to tell that story all the time, but. He was on a scholarship. He was getting his PhD, and she was studying to be a nurse. And then they met, here in the United States. So
your dad came over from Tanzania?
From Tanzania,
okay.
yeah, to get his PhD, came over on a scholarship. And, my brother was born here in the United States, and they had planned to move back to Tanzania, but the dictator, Idi Amin, in Uganda had come to power. And he started purging all the intellectuals, the doctors and everything. People were fleeing, but he was killing a lot of people. And he had planned to go to Uganda because that's where the jobs were after he got his PhD. There were more jobs there than there were in Tanzania, but he couldn't go there because, he probably would have been killed. And Idi Amin hated Tanzanians. As a matter of fact, fast forward years later, he actually tried to invade Tanzania, and the Tanzanian just whipped his butt, back into Uganda, and then he fled to Libya. I believe it was Libya, and that's where he stayed the rest of his life. He died of testicular cancer or something like that. Good, because he was a horrible human being, man. He slaughtered a lot of people. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, he admired Adolf Hitler. Even as crazy as Hitler was, and Hitler with all his racial theories and everything like that. But he was an authoritarian. But anyway, yeah, I was born in Tanzania, and first came here to the United States in 1977, and stayed here for a couple of years. 79. Went back, returned to Tanzania, and then we came back and stayed for good in 81. I remember 81 was a really, really big year because I think that was when MTV first launched. And, I'm the first, I'm part of that first MTV generation, which, it had a...
We were.
Huh?
We were.
We were, yeah, all of us, man. And, they.
I just remember going, wow.
Wow, yeah, that really, I think that really shaped a lot of us. On Facebook and social media and stuff like that. I'm part of these little chat groups and rooms and everything about, the 80s and everything like that. Everybody talks about, how good it was back then, how life was. It was simple. It was our time, man. I miss those days, man. I really miss those days. But I remember how big of an impact MTV had on me. It was, rushing home and you couldn't wait to turn on. You'd see what the new videos were. And I remember Michael Jackson Thriller when it dropped, we were at Harding then.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. But yeah, man. In a nutshell, that's basically how I got to the United States.
And where'd you land when you first came here? Just Oklahoma City?
Oklahoma City, yes,
Okay.
yes. Now, my mother was born and raised in a small town which is 15 miles from McAllister, which is called Hartshorne.
Okay.
And it's spelled Hartshorne, Hartshorne, the Hartshorne Miners. She grew up there, pretty big family. I've got family in McAllister. I've got family all over Oklahoma. So, when we came here, we stayed with my Aunt Sally and my Uncle Dave and my two cousins, Kelly and Dana. And obviously here in Oklahoma City on the east side, a black working class neighborhood. That's a whole nother story right there. I mean, I remember that neighborhood was a very, very nice neighborhood back then, where people took pride in their houses, their yard.
Middle 70s?
Late 70s,
okay.
yeah, late 70s, early 80s. I just remember all the lawns were pristine. It was one of those deals where, like my Uncle Dave would get up Saturday morning, and all the neighborhood men were always checking out each other's yards to see which one was nicer, and they were always trying to upend each other. Whenever somebody got a new car, it was a big deal. And
It's funny how that never changes.
Yeah. But the neighborhood now is really, really run down. It's sad, man. That whole area, man. I mean, I remember how pristine it was.
Now, did you go to Polk by chance?
No.
Okay.
No.
You probably went to Moon or something.
No, are you talking about?
No, fifth grade.
No, I went to Corpus. I believe it was Corpus Christi. There's a school called Corpus Christi on the east side. I believe it's still there. I don't know if it's still open. I don't know if it's closed, but it was Corpus Christi. I remember.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Corpus Christi, and then it was Harding. And
Where did you live when you went to Harding?
Man, I lived on.
Was it 30th?
30. No, it was 32nd actually. Down the street from probably maybe a block away from what's that school down there? Was it Edgemere? Yeah. Because I remember I used to run up there.
Harvey.
Yeah, I used to run up there and mess around on the playground and stuff in the summertime, and I'd run up to Harding, but there wasn't really much at Harding. That's actually how I lost weight. I was a pudgy kid in the 7th grade, and I remember some of the big time athletes over at Harding. You remember Bobby Dunn and Parrish McCoffman and those
Rodney
guys,
Smith.
man. Yeah, Rodney Smith, man. They were all just huge and all ripped up and stuff, man. And I didn't know how to lift weights. I didn't know anything about anything. I just remember being in gym with those guys, and they were in every sport, man. They were track, they were wrestling, they were doing everything, and they were just so. I'm like, man, how do you even get like that?
Parrish McCoffman is a
freak, man,
beast.
Freak. Another Perry Atkinson. Remember Big Perry Atkinson?
Oh, Perry, yeah.
Yeah. Cool guys, man, but they were just athletic, man. But anyway, I found out about lifting weights and getting in shape by just reading magazines, man. I'd pick up, Muscle and Fitness or Flex magazine, and I would read. I couldn't afford any weights. I mean, we were pretty poor, man. But I just kind of would get these ideas, man, and I would. I remember one summer how I lost weight. Never been pudgy since, man. Is I would cut up black trash bags, and I would wrap them around my torso, and I would tape them, and I'd put on a T-shirt.
It's a wrestling move.
Yeah, man. Hooded sweatshirt, and sweats, and in the summertime when the sun was just starting to go down, I'd run up to Harding. And I'd run around the field. I remember that summer, man, I did that a lot, at least 3-4 times a week, man. So when 8th grade came around, I remember coming back and people going, Jesus, man, you dropped 100 pounds, man. You know, what happened, man? You been eating, you know? And I said, man, I just, you know, and even back then, I mean, our metabolisms were so high and everything, you know, eating macaroni and cheese and whatever your mom stuck in front of you, whatever, peanut butter and bread.
Oops, whatever.
It didn't matter, man. I mean, you know, we just burned it off, man. And, but yeah, I lived on 32nd, which is the same street that LJ lived on. You know, John Holt lived on. But
Little
east.
John, Mark Walker.
Yeah.
All those guys.
Yeah, just
Louis Daglish.
Exactly, man. Just east of them, man.
Do you remember Greg Davis?
Little Greg Davis? Yeah, man. He's on my Facebook page. Yeah, we go back and forth all the time. Yeah. I remember he wrestled at Harding. Yeah. And you guys went on to Northeast. I was actually looking forward to and planning to go to Northeast, but I remember my 8th grade year, the district, the Oklahoma City Public School, they split up the district across 30th, 30th and Penn. And by then, I was living on 30th and Penn. If you lived on the east side of 30th, you went to Northeast. If you lived on the west side, you went to Northwest.
Yeah.
I remember how heartbreaking it was, man, because all my friends from Harding, they were all going they all went to Northeast, man. And I was like,
half my friends are here.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't understand it.
Yeah,
then,
exactly, man. And I was just terrified. I didn't know anybody at Northwest. But the summer before my freshman year, because I used to walk up to Shepherd Mall and hang around in the game room.
We all?
Yeah.
Gold mine,
hang around in the game room, and you know, see kids our age, and you know, game rooms were the thing back then, and
82, 83.
Yeah, something like that, man. And you know, MTV was in full swing, and I remember riding the city bus all over.
Mass trans.
Yeah. And I actually met my best friend on the city bus. His name was Trevor Stevens.
Name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I met him, and you know, he ended up, you know, he went to Moon. He went to Moon with Sean Hughes, and met him. Then met Sean Hughes. And I started slowly but surely meeting, you know, all these kids my age that were about to be freshmen in Northwest class. And so by the time I got there, I was like, all right, so I got a little, you know, I got a little crew of mine, you know, and you know, I remember getting there, and the school was just huge, man. So many people there, and that was a whole nother new experience, man. But I was real heartbroken about not going to Northeast for the people that I knew from Harding, since I had such a great time at Harding. I just met some really cool people there, and I was just like really looking forward to going to Northeast and being with all the people that I knew from Harding, man.
All of them, you know, I lived on 31st in Chartel.
Oh, okay.
So from 79 till I got out,
That's
pretty much
blocks,
school.
It's 2 blocks, 2 blocks from the school, man.
Yeah, Harding, I used to walk. You know, I'd walk with Max Walker or whoever, Jeff Hanska, all my friends that lived. They all lived like within a block or two from me.
Wow.
And we just walked down the street, and I remember when Harding was out, I went to Northeast, and it was just like our crew was all there. We'd all meet like at Mark's house, and then Lockdoe would come pick us up in his red Jetta, and we'd go to, you know, to high school. Or I think my freshman year, of course, I think we were the bus.
Wow.
That was before that highway went in, but man, those are good times.
Good times, man.
But I remember some of my friends weren't there. I was like, where'd everybody go? You know, some of my friends.
Yeah.
But like the twins, the Davises, and Carl and George Pat, I mean, just a whole crew was all at Northeast. And there's a few of them.
Yeah,
like
I remember the Pattersons, yeah, man. I remember them, didn't they? They used to like lift a lot of weights. Yeah.
They had giant arms.
These giant arms, chest, man.
Ninth graders, 8th graders.
Yeah. I remember one of them he'd tell us, man, that he benched like 220 or 215, you know, like, man, how do you even do that, you know? And I wish I had access to weights, man. And back then everybody was lifting, the weights that everybody bought were, you know, they were from J.C. Penney. Remember the plastic weights with the cement in them? Yeah, the Orbitron. And yeah, man, it was pretty nuts, man. Everybody wore the gray sweats, and I still love those gray sweats, man. Whenever I can find just a pair of gray sweats from like Walmart, they'll be like $7-8, man. And, you know, I still wear them. You know,
do you remember Champagne? A guy, Vietnamese guy.
Champagne, yeah.
He lived there on 31st and around Chartel in that duplex.
I think he ended up coming to Northwest for
He
a
went
while.
to Northeast and he went to Northwest.
Yeah,
he went back and forth. And
Yeah.
we would watch those Sunday afternoon karate movies, and
yeah.
then we'd go outside and do flips and all that stuff. And
Yeah,
he could do all that.
Yeah, he was a big time kung fu karate guy. I remember that, man. He had that reputation over there at Harding. It was like, man, the dude can kick as fast as you can punch. I remember that, man. I remember Joe Mays, Joe De La Cruz.
Joe Mays is running Kia.
Yeah,
out there in Midwest City, I think.
Yeah, he is. He's on my Facebook page, and every time he has a sale, he posts a thumbs up, and I'll say what's up to him. Man, I remember him, man. Whatever happened to Julie and Laura McDonough? Do you remember them? They were sisters, blonde hair. They were at Harding. I thought they went over. I thought they went to Northeast, but I remember them. I remember those sisters. I remember Brian Tampkins, Selim Vaughn.
Selim's at Walmart, I think.
Yeah.
And he married Saida.
I remember Saida, and I'm friends with her on Facebook. Remember Major Hudson? Mm-hmm. Did he go to Northeast?
He did.
And he had a sister, Sherry House. She was real pretty, man.
I don't remember her.
Oh, she was gorgeous,
but
man.
I can imagine.
I remember she was upper class. I think she was a year older than us, man. But she had like hazel eyes. She was beautiful, man. But I remember Sherry Hudson, Major Hudson. Major was cool. I was friends with Major. Obviously,
remember William Washington?
Yeah.
So you knew Greg and all them. They all went to Northeast.
Yeah. I ran into William Washington, man. It was
Parrish, and I think Rodney also went to Northeast.
Yeah.
I knew Parrish did because he was in a couple of my classes.
Yeah. Big Bowman. Last time I saw William Wash, I ran into him at it was like 88 or something like that. And me and some friends from McGinnis were at some store buying beer. And I think that, there was a store. There was a little convenience store across the street from McGinnis, like right on the corner. That's where I saw him. And it's the first time I had seen him since Harding.
On 50th and Western?
Yeah, now it's like, I think, Hideaway Pizza or something. Yeah. So it's the last time I saw him, man.
I've seen him a few times.
Really?
We had a reunion about 10 years ago, and he came to that. Like, we had a pizza joint. I can't remember what it was. But, I've seen him a few times. And I talked to Greg and said, man, you need to call BB and we'll get together and go hang out sometime.
Yeah, man. It'd be nice to see Greg too, man. God, I remember the cheerleaders from our school. They're all Tina Hill. Tina Hill was at Northwest for a while.
Lisa Story went to Northwest too, I think, because she didn't go to Northeast.
Lisa Story didn't. She wasn't at North. She wasn't at Northwest, man. I assumed she went to Northeast because I never saw her. Because man, I ran.
She might have. She wasn't in my ecosystem.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I was sure she would, because she hung around all the girls, Sarah Dell and Leanne and all that.
Sarah Dell and Leanne, they all went to Northeast.
Yeah, and they were all together, man. But I remember them coming over to, LJ's house. LJ, Lil John. I called him Little John. But they were, he had a ton of parties, but they were always together in one big group. So I just assumed she went to Northeast. She wasn't at Northwest, man. I mean, I would have seen her. She would have been in Jock Hall, which is where all the party
Jock
people.
Lot.
Yeah, Jock Hall, Jock Lot. You hung around in Jock Hall and you parked in Jock Lot, and you had a locker in Jock Hall, man.
Good times.
Yeah. Whatever happened to Sarah Lakis? She go to Northeast?
I haven't heard that name in 35 years.
Really?
Sarah Lakis.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wasn't she? She was a cheerleader. She was a cheerleader at Harding. She went to Northeast, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Elizabeth Lambert, a bunch of those. Holly. I can't remember her
Holly.
name.
What was Holly Pound?
Holly Pound. I think
Holly
she went to Northeast.
She went to Northeast. I remember her. She used to have some parties in high school, and she lived over by.
They all lived down there in Edgemere Park, didn't they?
Holly Pound. Well, the last time I saw her, she had some monster party, man. This is like, I don't know, 86, 85, something like that. And she lived close to Penn Square Mall. I remember.
In that neighborhood around 50th and Mayfair.
There was a church. She was across her. I guess her parents' house were across the street from this church.
Yeah.
And I just remember that, man. It was the last time I saw her. Pretty big party, man. was it Kathy Duncan,
I see
Terry
them.
Duncan.
She's still around. They're all still
They were
around.
there. I think they were there. Brian
Sutherland.
Sutherland. I remember the Sutherlands. Yeah, man. Wow. Small world, man. Yeah, I used to walk to Hardeman, and I couldn't wait to get to school, because that was my world, man. Even when I was sick, I would go to school, because I just couldn't wait to get to school. That's where all my friends were. It was a magical time. It's completely different than Tanzania was, man. I mean, I don't know, man. It was like it was culture shock, and it was just everything was so exciting every day, man. Every day, I hated when school got out, and the summers were tough, man, because all your friends they were like all over the place. You remember Shannon and Johnny North?
Yeah. Wow.
From yeah, man. Now
Shannon, the guy, he's a guy.
Yeah, Shannon's a guy. They were cousins. Everybody thought they were brothers, but they
Okay.
were cousins. Now they were from some small town, because I remember after
Didn't Shannon go to Northeast? I think
I
he
think
went to
so.
Northeast.
Well, I know after 8th grade they moved to a really, really small town. I never even heard of the town, but I remember they moved to some small town in Oklahoma, and nobody really ever saw him again. I think that's where they went, man. Now Shannon's on my he's on my Facebook page.
Is he?
Yeah, but he's got his name spelled backwards. It's North Shannon. And he's involved in like video production and stuff like that.
Okay.
You ought to look him up. And when I found him, I asked him about Johnny, and he's like, oh, we still talk every now and then. I guess they got into some big argument or something, because I always thought they were brothers. He's like, oh no, he's my cousin. Everybody thought that they were, same last name.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of looked alike. And so now I haven't seen Johnny North or talked to him in a while, but I'm sure I could find him, if I, just pestered Shannon enough. But he said they hadn't talked in a while or something. They'd got into it over the years, cousins and brothers or whatever get into it, whatever. They don't speak for a while. But me and Shannon were supposed to get together and catch up, hang out. There's a lot of people, man, I want to catch up with, man. We ought to sometime soon, man, just get a big group of knuckleheads, man, together at some dive bar, man, and
Did you ever go to a party at Mark's house when he had those big parties?
Yeah.
Mark's Red House.
Yeah, the big one, yeah. Yeah, man, I remember remember the crazy, they went through that whole skinhead stage, and remember that stuff. And I remember going over there one night, because I was cool with Mark. We had our disagreements or whatever a couple of times, but we were always pretty cool, Max, Mark, and Mike, yeah. So I was pretty cool with them. But I just remember going over there, man, and some like skinheads or something from Dallas came up. And they were in there. They didn't like me being there, man. And
really?
Yeah, I said something to one of them, and we all squared off outside. And one of them ran to the trunk of their car or whatever, and started handing out bats. I guess it surprised them. And I was with a group of dudes, man, from Northwest, and I remember we had I think we'd gone down the street to LJ's, which wasn't far away at all, a block away, whatever.
Yeah.
And I called some other guys. I said, man, I got these guys, man, and it was like JT Davis, and it was, I think, JT Davis and his brother, man, Jesse Davis, who were that was a whole different breed of cat.
You
right
talking
there.
about JT, the big like redhead?
Yeah,
JT? Okay.
yeah, James Davis, man, who I went to school with.
Yeah.
No, I was pretty good friends with him, man. He had some mean, badass brothers, man, Eddie and Jesse, and so he showed up with Jesse, but they showed up after it was all over, because I squared off with me and LJ, and I can't remember who else we were with. We squared off with the skinheads in front of Mark's house, and I guess they thought we were going to back down or something, because these guys were supposed to be tough or something like that. But we were all scrapping back then, and we were like, man, you bring it, sticks don't scare.
That's surprising that.
Yeah, and then they now, man, was that Mark's? Wasn't there someone else that lived? Did Mike Lee live?
Mike Lee lived down on 35th and Eubanks. Eubanks, like 35th and close to Penn.
Okay,
But
different.
A lot of our friends lived on that little block on 32nd.
Yeah. It was. I don't think it was Mark's house, because I think the front of their house faced north, right? The Walker's house. If you
It faced south.
it faced south. Yeah, it faced south. The house that we were in, I think, faced north, and it was a 2-story house, and it was close to the corner. So I don't know whose house that was. If my memory serves me correctly, I don't know. But anyway, long story short, man, they were all there. We were cool, but these skins had shown up, and this one guy kept staring at me, and I asked him, what the F he was staring at. And he told me, because basically, like my skin color. I'm saying, well, let's take it outside, man. And that's how it all got started. And we just kind of faced off with him, and we're like, you're going to do something, do it. The bats don't scare us, man. We've been in a few with sticks thrown around, man. And, yelling stuff back and forth. And then they got in their car, and then they left. And then JT and his brother showed up, and we were all trying to figure out where they were. And I remember us driving to the Angles in the rec room, just trying to find them.
We used to hang out there.
Yeah. And apparently they'd gone there, but we never found them, man. We never found them. But that was just one of the many stories, man. One of the many crazy stories from back then. There's a lot of them, man. There's a lot of them.
That's weird, because it seems like we were all, even like the skinhead crew.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they weren't really skinheads.
Yeah.
And because we all ran around together. It's like me and Glenn and you and a bunch of Mexicans, whites, blacks.
Yeah, I thought
Indians.
It was weird. And the first time that I'd heard about that whole thing was, you remember that big fight at McDonald's?
Yeah.
On
Hefner,
yeah. And I think one of the Colbert sisters got hit or something like that. Amy Colbert, I think, was in it. They went to, it was a bunch of McGinnis kids, and I guess they got into it with some of the skinheads, whatever. And that stuff actually made the news. I remember remember Barbara Thompson from Marshall?
Mm-hmm.
I think she was there. She was in it.
I was there.
Huh?
I was there.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was in the parking lot.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I wasn't there. I just heard about it.
We were all, it was like Chad, Miller, Mark, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole, it was like 15 or 20 of us, and we're just like doing whatever 17-year-olds do.
Yeah.
And this dude pulled in fast, like heading to the drive-thru, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, we were walking up to the building, and we just, we were yelling, we were getting all irate and crazy. And we didn't care who it was, but it turned out to be a black dude and a white girl,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just a big brawl.
Yeah.
This guy got out, and it was like, got attacked, and it's like, I don't remember what happened. I remember, I get in my car and I'm leaving because I'm not,
Yeah, it was on like Donkey Kong. I just remember hearing about it, man. And I was like, what the hell, Mark Walker, man, I know those guys. Because I remember having a party at my house, and Mark, I think, showed up. And a couple of, they had like, I don't know, black leather jackets or whatever, man.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the same guys that we knew from Harding.
Yeah.
So I thought, I just didn't get, I was like, whatever. I don't know. I don't know. It was weird, man. Now, there were some other guys that we got into it, because we got into it with some at the Dollar Theater, man, on 63rd and Northwest Expressway.
Saver.
Yeah. We threw down there. And then another time on New Year's Eve in front of LJ's house, where a whole bunch of us had just got back from some party, man. I remember there was, the streets were just completely paved with ice. And 2 or 3 of them drove by in like a tan station wagon. One guy's name, what was his name? Sean McCarty. And another one was named like Christian, but they was...
I remember Christian.
Yeah, big dude.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Because I remember me and John Albert got on him, man. And
Johnny Albert?
Yeah, Johnny Albert. Yeah. See, I knew, I was real good friends with John Albert, man, from high school. He was an upperclassman, man, but he kind of took me up underneath his wing, and I started hanging out. I was, sophomore, and he was like a senior, I think. And started getting into all these parties, man, and started meeting the seniors and the upperclassmen. It was a big thing in the 80s, man. And we stayed friends, man. He went on to OU, man, and on weekends, man, I'd drive down there, man, and stay in his dorm room, and man, we'd go to club SROs and the Edge and football games and all sorts of stuff, man. And I remember that. Yeah, me and Albert we were pretty tight. And he went to law school down there at OU, and I knew his wife Terry, of course. John Albert passed away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good friends with Terry.
Yeah.
She's in my life group, actually.
Yeah. I was at that funeral. Very sad, man. A lot of people from Northwest, man. That was a tough one, man. That was a tough one, man. But yeah, man, you know, just I don't know, man. Small world. All of us are just kind of intertwined, man. You start throwing names around, and you know.
You're ever saying names that I forgot about?
Yeah, man. Yeah, John Albert
Wow.
he was a really good guy, man. You know, so friends with his sister, and you know, Susan. You know, she lives out in Southern California. Got to meet her husband at the funeral. Stay in contact with her, and
So you know Terry?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, Terry, yeah. Met her, I think, when they first started dating, and I remember they got married, and you know, I'd been to their house a few times, and I remember there was one summer I was making extra money helping, what was his name? Troy, I can't remember his last name, but anyway, he had a lawn mowing business. But John Albert was one of his clients,
Okay.
and Joe Reynolds, who's a national champ wrestler from Oklahoma, OU, was also another one of his clients. And Joe Reynolds was a defense attorney with John Albert.
Mm-hmm.
And I, you know, I'd met Joe Reynolds before through some other guys, some other wrestlers that had gone to Edmond and wrestled for OU and UCO, and that's how I met Joe Reynolds. And then it turned out he knew John Albert, and I was helping Troy, and that, you know, we were just, you know, just by chance, you know, we were hitting all these houses, and we were mowing these lawns, and pulled up John Albert's house. Out of all the houses, man, John Albert walks up, you know, and I'm like, oh man, dude, you know, and same thing with Joe Reynolds, man, you know, he walks out, you know, he's like, well, was this a party, man, you know? Next thing you know, the beers start flowing, we're mowing lawns, and it turns into, you know, just small world, man. Oklahoma City, man, love it.
Did you know at Northwest? Now, what year did you graduate?
87.
Okay.
Now, 87 was the year I was supposed to graduate, but I was a knucklehead, man, and I was always a good student. But once I discovered beer and chasing girls, man, it just overtook everything, man. I mean, everything was just like, I can't wait till the weekend, you know. And yeah, obviously my grades suffered, and I was fighting a lot, and got, you know, I got suspended. Then I eventually got expelled from Northwest class, and I finished up at Last Chance High School, which was down there by St. Anthony's.
Yeah. Glenn went there.
Yeah, God, what's the name of it? Emerson.
Secondary school or whatever it was.
Yeah, and as soon as I got away from, I got separated from Northwest class, and my grades went up. Well, you know,
Shocker.
my grades went up, and I ended up making like senior class president over there and graduating with. I mean, it was just nuts, man. And it was just, you know, but the distractions weren't there. And I mean, I also started growing up, you know, looking around and going, you know, the people I was supposed to graduate with, man, they're already graduated, man. A lot of them are in college and they got jobs, and here I am, and I'm still trying to. It's like, man, you need to grow up, man, you know. And so, but you know, lessons learned, man. You know, we all make mistakes. The most important thing is, you know, do you learn anything from them? You know, and but you know, we were all knuckleheads and stuff back then. You know, I never did anything bad. You know, thank God. I mean, I never. You know, no one ever did. I don't remember anybody doing drugs or anything like that. Every now, you know, you had some people that, you know, smoked weed and stuff, and everybody was kind of like, ooh, you know, so and so's got a joint, and you know, so and I never even, you know, I never tried it. Never tried marijuana. Of course, you know, the attitudes now are completely different. You know, people know a lot more about it. Never smoked cigarettes. Never tried marijuana. My thing was just. I just wanted to have a cold beer and find out where the girls were, you know. And we did a lot of bonfire parties, man. That was the big thing at Northwest class, and man, it was out there at Hefner. We had a bonfire spot, man, and it was people would meet at Jock Lot, you know, at night, and you know, if there was no parties to go to or no one was going way out to Hefner or whatever, but we would just party in the school parking lot. People would, you know, everybody with their muscle cars have their doors open, you know, cranking music, and people would just stay out there and drink, man. It was It was wild, but those were the best times, man. You know, nowhere to go, nothing to do. All you needed was your friends, man. So.
Yeah. We could do anything as long as we had our friends
Yeah,
around.
man. It didn't matter. Where's everybody going? I don't know. This field out by so-and-so road. Oh, really? How do you
Memorial Road.
Yeah, how do you get there, man? You know, and I remember back then before cell phones, and how did we ever find those parties, man? One way was, you know, you just look for the empty beer cans. You know, you would just follow them, and you'd find the party.
Can you imagine? I mean, it was like, because we had to meet at somebody's house, either Mark's house or like Little John's house.
Yeah.
Or whoever's house or at school, and then we'd figure it out from there because there was no cell phones, you know.
No, man. No.
That's wild.
You had to memorize. You had to memorize people's
phone numbers,
telephone numbers, man, and payphones were a big thing. This is before pagers too, man.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, no one had pagers, and I just remember the old school trim line phones on the wall with the long cord, man, that you'd be talking to your girlfriend wrapped around the corner. Your mom yelling at you because it's midnight, you know, go to bed, you know, get the little silly girl off the phone.
Yeah.
You know, go to bed.
And that was everything back then. It was like,
oh, it was huge, man.
It
was huge. Middle school and high school, man. It was, man, talking to your girlfriend wee hours of the night and hanging up, waiting till your parents went to bed, and then, you know, she'd call you or you'd call her, and, you know, wow, youth.
So it's funny, you graduated. Did you graduate a year after that at Emerson? Or
I graduated in 89.
Okay.
2 years after, man.
So you're 51. You're 52.
52.
Okay.
Just turned 52 January 3rd, man.
I'll turn 52 in a couple of months.
Oh, wow.
But I was supposed to graduate 87 as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I graduated 88 because, like you,
yeah.
The only reason the school was there was to meet up with all my friends and then leave.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's why.
And my stepdad bet me that I wouldn't
really?
graduate, like $200. And just out of spite, I went back and graduated.
It's going to bust a lot of money.
And I walked.
Then.
Yeah. That was like
back then. Good money now.
I was gas for like a couple of months.
Oh, man. 87 cents a gallon, man. I remember that. 87
I remember 77 cents a gallon in my little Camaro.
Man. Yeah. Speaking of which, man, I'd love to have an old school muscle car, man. That's one of the things I'm going to end up getting. But I remember reading. Remember when Auto Trader magazine first came out back then, and it was you would buy one, man, and what were they, 50, 75 cents, maybe $1. I don't know, man, but your fingers would be black from the ink, you know. And I just remember looking at you know, Trans Ams and Camaros and Chevelles and all that, and it'd be $2,500, $3,000, $3,500, and you're like, man, I wish
$4,000 would get you like a mint.
Yeah, man.
TA
and
or something.
there were just pages of them, man. And looking back now, man, and looking back now,
Now
man,
they're like 50 grand.
50, 30 grand, 25 grand. You know, places, you know, there's a couple of dealerships that I follow on YouTube. Maple Motors is one of them out of Tennessee, man. And I mean, they're turning them out every week. They have this lot walk around thing that they do every week.
Yeah.
And they sell about 10 cars. Is it a week, I think? Or maybe, no, I think.
Probably 10 cars a day, isn't it?
Something like that, man. But they get in a lot of Chevy Novas, Chevelles, you know, Corvettes, stuff like that. So I'm kind of partial to the Chevy Novas. So.
And, there were some guys that had those Chevy Novas.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that. There was
Yeah.
a guy at North, Robbie Deaton.
Robbie
had
Deaton.
a black Chevy Nova.
Philip Holbrook had a Hunter Green one, and it was mint. You know, it had the chrome Kragers on it, raised white letters, and I remember his whole engine was either polished stainless steel or it was chrome, but he didn't have a hood on it. And he would race everybody, man. He was a big muscle car guy, man. I mean, you know, you could work on cars and all that stuff. I remember that. And I remember, you know, we totaled that car in a race. A bunch of us were in it, man. And we got into a race with, can't remember what kind of car it was, but it was down there by Penn Square, before Penn Square Mall was a mall.
When it was just open.
Yeah.
It was like an outdoor mall.
Yeah. And we raced this guy. It was a bunch of us. It was, I think, was that Tony White? Was it Tony White's birthday? But a bunch of us were crammed into this Nova. And I can't remember where we were going, man, but, you know, one car pulled up to another one, man, and the engine started revving. And Pennsylvania Avenue heading north down there by Penn Square.
Had a little
It,
curve.
it eventually turned into one lane,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why we wrecked. Is we almost collided with the other car, and then we went off to the side and flew off the road and landed in this guy's yard. And there was a big tree in his yard, and we hit the tree, lifted the engine up, ripped the tire off, and I think the only reason, and no, we everyone walked away from that. It was really strange,
Miraculous.
and I finally figured out why. Is because there were so many of us in the car, and everybody was crammed together, so everybody was like a seatbelt.
Nobody was thrown around.
Nobody was thrown around, and Philip Holbrook was a real good driver. I mean, just an awesome driver, man. And he was like the only one. I remember I had sore ribs for like a few days. There were some people that were sore, but Philip had like a scar or a little bitty cut, like right across the bridge of his nose from that wreck, from hitting the steering wheel, and that was about it. And after that, man, I was like, whoa, because we were going so fast racing, and if we would have flipped, I don't know, man.
There's so many things that almost happened in high school that we just.
Yeah, I've been in a car that's flipped side over side, man. Walked away from it that night. Walked away from it, and the people that pulled us out of the car were going to another party, and pulled us out of the car, put us in their car, and then we went to the pool party. And I was pulling glass out of my head. That's how crazy we were, man.
Do you remember from Harding Chad Bohannon? Or
Man.
Jay Bohannon? They lived down there in Edgemere Park.
Name rings a bell, man. You know what? I wish I had my yearbook from, what was it, Aquila? Was it Aquila 82?
I've got 83.
Was it 83 that we were seniors? And then I guess 8th graders. Was it Aquila 83?
Yep. We were 8th graders because in fall of 83 is when.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'll tell you a funny story about my Harding yearbook. So on the last day of school, and I remember the last day of school was a big thing because everybody that had a beef with each other, they were going to settle it on the last day of school when school let out. And the faculty got word that there were supposed to be all these fights. There was supposed to be like 5 or 6 fights. Because remember when the
cops came.
Yeah, remember the school buses would pull up on the south side, and they'd line up behind each other. You would just run out and find your bus. Well, that's so the faculty pulled a fast one on us that day. And of course, none of us knew it. We were just in school. Thinking about summer and yada yada yada. And I remember I had my yearbook and I was passing it around to all my friends to have them sign it. Remember that was a big thing. Your friends would sign it. Your little girlfriends, ex-girlfriends. I gave my yearbook to Shannon North for him to sign it. And we were going to meet right outside the orange doors, and he was going to give it back to me, last day of school. Well, the faculty came over the loudspeaker before school let out, before last period, whatever. And they said they were going to let students out differently this year. They were going to come over the loudspeaker and call out your school bus number when it came, and then you were allowed to leave for the summer. Wow. And I remember thinking, Shannon North's got my yearbook. I didn't know his number. And I remember that him and Johnny North were supposed to move because his family was from some small town in Oklahoma. And I was worried. I was like, how am I going to find him? I'm going to have to. And that's exactly what happened. If school bus number 25 pulled up, they would say, if you're on school bus number 25, you're excused, have a good summer. And little by little, people went out. And that's how they prevented all the fights from happening. And sure enough, man, my school, I walked, to Harding, so I didn't, but by then Shannon North was gone, and I tried for years to figure out where or find somebody that had his number, where he was going, and I never got my yearbook back.
Man. And
then when I reconnected with him on Facebook, I told him that story, and we kind of laughed, and of course he didn't, that was 1983, man. And
40 years ago.
I'd give my left leg to have that yearbook, just for the memories and the signatures that I have. You can't get that stuff back, man. But yeah, that's my story about that year. Man, I'd kill to have that yearbook, man.
I wonder where it is.
I mean, who knows?
They're in a landfill somewhere.
Yeah, man. I mean, who knows, man? I mean, he could have bounced all over the United States since then, man. 1983, and he had my yearbook to sign it.
Somebody needs to start like a Facebook page of yearbooks.
Yeah.
You know, by state or something.
Yeah. You know what?
Because mine's gone too. I don't know where.
Yeah. I'd actually like to have a copy of that. Now, Harding, man, held a special place in my heart. It always has, man. Of course, it moved now. The location on 33rd, they moved. I think they're out. Are they out over here by us now?
Well, the name of it moved. Harding's still there.
Yeah. Well, it became Harding Charter Prep. Mm-hmm. And then, but that actual location has shut down, the actual school. Yeah. And then they're moved. I think they're out here somewhere or something. I don't know. Yeah. But they moved the whole school. But I remember calling them up, because I worked on not far from for many years, close to there. My business HQ was there, and I called them up and I told them, I'd like to order a sweatshirt, a Harding sweatshirt. I said, yeah, you can come on up. And, they did it old school style. You had to show up and give them a check, and, they would they would call you whenever it came in. And sure enough, I went up there and I talked to the principal, and I told her that I used to go there. So she gave me a tour, and I went and I saw my old locker, and man, it was just, it was breathtaking how bittersweet it was, man, to walk those halls, because I hadn't been in there since 83, man.
Why do you think it's like that? So down deep, and we were there for 3 years.
Yeah.
Whatever. 79, 80, 81, 82, whatever, and then, or 80, 81, 82, and then we're gone. But it's like a big imprint in our brain.
My high school's the same way too. I ended up going back there for junior achievement and teaching some junior achievement courses that I volunteered for through my business. It was the same thing, man. I remember when I got the nostalgic tour of Harding, how small it looked.
It was so big back when we were tiny.
Back when we were tiny, man, it was big. And I remember, they still had the little heaters in the hallway, the little metal. And I was like, wow, man, it just brought back. I was just overwhelmed with feelings, man.
Do you remember any of your teachers? Like, did you have Mr. Masters?
I had Mr. Masters.
Mr. Lane.
I remember Mr. Lane.
Miss Freaky.
I remember
Mrs. Freaky or whatever it was.
Who was the science teacher with the glasses?
Kozad?
No, black lady.
I had Kozad. I don't remember.
She didn't. Oh, what was her name? Was it Barnett?
Oh yeah, Miss Barnett.
Miss Barnett. Yeah, she didn't mess around. Boy, you talk up in our class. She didn't mess around. I remember Mr. Masters, man, mathematics.
Mr. Hodges.
Mr. Hodges, yeah. Mr. Hodges was he was the vice principal, right?
Yep, I think so.
Peggy Kennedy was the principal.
Okay.
She's the principal, yep. Mr. Hodges, and then Mr.
Mr. Officer.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Officer. Remember the black dude with the jerry curl who used to give swats.
Which one? It wasn't Arnwine. Arnwine was
no, man. Was it Larry something? Man, he gave me. That was
the
first time.
Swats there.
That was the first time I ever had swats, man. Those suckers hurt. That was. I can't remember his last name.
Do you remember, or do you see anything like on YouTube nowadays, like social media, where like the kids are like fighting with the teachers, or they get in a big fight and kids beat up teachers? Anyway, I've seen them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm just thinking to myself, I can't imagine if I bucked up to some of those teachers in middle school, I would have got my ass kicked.
Oh, yeah.
Like messing with Mr. Barker or Mr. Masters.
Yeah, I remember Mr. Barker, wrestling coach, man. Yeah.
You can't mess Mr. B.
Yeah.
You would have got
Bernadello.
You would have got jacked up if you would have talked smack to any of them people.
Yeah, man. They would have given you the business, man. But it was a different world, man. I mean, our culture was different. So one of the things that I miss about it, man, I don't know, man. I guess everyone says that about their generation. Mm-hmm. I just feel, obviously, ours was special, man. A kid of the 80s, man. People riding around on mongoose bikes and Atari video games and Scooby-Doo and American Bandstand on Saturday morning, Soul Train, and I remember
Saturday morning cartoons.
I remember the TV shows, man. I still watch some of them. Welcome Back, Kotter. 6 Million Dollar Man.
We could go on and on.
On and on and on, man.
Dukes of Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard, man. The Fall Guy.
Happy Days.
Three's
Company.
Three's Company. Oh, yeah.
Yada, yada.
I actually met, what's his name from Three's Company?
John Ritter?
No, not Ritter.
Don Knotts?
Not Don Knotts.
Larry the pervert.
Larry the pervert.
But he's not even, he's like been married for 60 years or something, and he's completely opposite.
I met him at a bar on May Avenue in 95, 97 or whatever. He was in there playing, and I just immediately recognized him, man, because Three's Company was one of my favorite shows. And I walked up and introduced myself, and he's like, "Hey, he was really nice, man." But yeah, I remember the bar they used to go to, the Regal Beagle. Hey, I found a T-shirt that because you can buy these nostalgic T-shirts, man, and I'm glad I remember that. Now I need to get that T-shirt, but it says the Regal Beagle on it. The Regal Beagle, man, yeah.
That's go talk to both my boys. They're 21 now, almost 22, and they'll tell you one of them actually is upset that he wasn't an 80s kid because he knows how he's got such a grasp on what's going on now that he's like, man, and I'm so me and all my friends are like, we'll go back to the 80s like that. He's like, man, it sucks that I wasn't able to live in the 80s.
Yeah, man, you tell you talk to some of the kids these days, man. I'll talk to kids through like coaching, man. I mean, I've been on and off martial arts coach.
I want to talk about that soon.
Yeah. Real good friend, one of my best friends, Justin Stamatis. His eldest son is a heavyweight wrestler and defensive tackle, man, for Edmond North, I believe, man. So some Sundays I go over there and we do boxing and kickboxing and go over judo moves and jiu-jitsu and all that kind of stuff. And but he's always asking us about the stuff we used to do, and we tell him, he's like, wow,
what was it like?
Yeah, what was it like? And because kids nowadays, man, and we've got political correctness, we've got it's just different, man. It's really weird, man. And just like you're talking about the videos about a lot of it's sad, man. It's
totally.
Yeah. I mean, you had respect for your elders back then, man. I mean, you talk back to your mother back then. I mean, she'd be driving with one hand and the other hand.
I got the belt, the shoe, whatever was close.
Whatever, man.
Got thrown at my head.
Yeah, a little saucepan, they'd fling a plate at you, man. You got the business, man. I mean, you understood who ran the household, and you did.
You could talk a lot of smack, but you'd have to run.
Yeah.
See,
I wouldn't. Yeah. See, we wouldn't even talk smack. I mean, you just weren't that crazy, man. It was like they said something, you did it, man. They gave you chores and you did them. You
don't remember a guy named Junebug, did you? Cleveland Davis.
Cleveland Davis.
He was from another town, but his grandmother lived across the street from me on 31st, and I talked about this with another buddy of mine. But
if I saw him, I might, man. This goes back to me needing that yearbook, man. I wonder if there's anywhere that I can buy it.
I don't know. When we're done here, we'll look at mine. It's not mine. It's actually a friend of mine, so I've tried to call a few times to give it to him, but he hadn't returned my call yet.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I looked through there, and I'm like, holy smokes. Every page, I'm like, wow, I remember this.
Remember Mark and Tony Shockley?
Yeah. They're on my Facebook.
Yeah, Mark
both
and
of
Tony.
them.
Yeah. Great
both
guys.
Jacked.
Yeah, great.
Big.
Yeah, great guys.
They were like the Pattersons. They were just jacked and freshmen.
Yeah. They were cool, man. Soft-spoken, and they were short, man, but they didn't take no...
They grew up because they were at Northeast, and they were in my weightlifting class at Northeast.
I remember Mark's girlfriend was a real pretty girl, Renee Burdine.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I think I had a crush. I know I had a crush on her.
Beautiful, man, beautiful. You seen pictures of her now? Oh, my God. Like Vanessa Williams, beautiful, man. I mean, really.
I believe it. She had those pretty eyes.
Yeah, she was...
I had a crush on Jada Parker. I had a crush on that Deidre.
Yeah, Jada
Gretchen
Parker.
Brown. I dated Gretchen Brown like right before she committed suicide.
Yeah, man. I was going to ask you about that. I remember hearing about that from Big Earl.
Yep.
From Northeast, man.
Darren.
Yeah, Darren, man. I couldn't believe it, man. I was pretty good friends with Gretchen, man.
I was supposed to go with her to some soccer game somewhere, and I just bought a car, and I was messing around with my friend Bruce and everybody, and just forgot all about it. And then the next day, I drove by her house, and there's a bunch of people out. I mean, a bunch of cars, and I was like, she must have had a party or something. And I just didn't think of it. And then I remember a week or two later, I heard she committed suicide. I was like, because she didn't answer her phone anymore. And I was like, man, she was student of the year at Harding.
I mean, I heard of it. I just couldn't.
She was come to find out, she was involved in another guy before that. It was just a train wreck. Another guy, I think he went to Harding with us. He was kind of a jerk. But there was some other stuff going on. And I don't know what it was, but they just, it was over and done, and everybody moved on. It was horrible. I was like, man, you got to be kidding.
Yeah, it was. I guess the word that I use, man, when I hear about stuff like that, or I mean, it's process, man. Couldn't process it when I heard it.
She was so awesome.
Yeah, and I remember me and her and Kevin Gilmore, man, used to sit in the back. I forgot what class it was, and goof off, and Kevin was a ladies' man back then, and he was always flirting with Gretchen. It was one of those deals that was kind of mutual, and they were always giving each other crap. And Earl had told me, man, he had told me, and we were at LJ's house. It's another one of LJ's parties. And we were out on the porch before basically the party really got going.
No way. I can't imagine. I can't imagine driving by Little John's house and seeing a bunch of people on the porch.
Out there, yeah. But I think there was only like 4 or 5 of us then. But that was before all the craziness started. It was early, it was still daylight. We already had Milwaukee's Beast cans popped open.
You'd have Mad Dog. 2020 was one of his favorites.
See, man, I never really messed with MD20. I was just always a beer guy. I was always a lightweight when it came to liquor, man. So I pretty much stayed away from it now. I drank it every now and then. But there were people who really gravitated toward it. Like, is that all we got is beer, man? Let's get some 7 and 7 and all. I'd be like, man, I'm cool. Because it would just, and to this day, I'm still that lightweight, which is a good thing because it saved my pocketbook.
Yeah. Might have saved your butt too.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember we were just, Earl, man, me and Earl and LJ were just talking. It might have been just 3 of us, and we were just talking about. I was talking about Harding and the people, and I said, Gretchen Brown. And he said, man, he's like, man, Gretchen killed herself. I'm like, what?
Like 89 or 90.
Yeah, that was when I heard about it. Earl was the one who told me about it, man.
God,
and, he had said that she was pretty much, it was over a heartbreak situation. That maybe she was heartbroken about some guy that she dated or something. And then she, that she hung herself or something. And
yep. She hung herself, and I don't know. It wasn't me because we had just started talking.
Jesus, man.
But I think it was that guy. I don't know what was going on, but man, it always sucks when it happens like that.
It's awful, man. Awful. I wish she would have.
She was so fun.
Yeah, I wish she would have thought about it some more or something. For someone to get to that point, man.
Pain's got to be pretty deep.
It's got to be bad, man. It's got to be really bad. I mean, because what's the word I'm looking for? Despair.
Hopeless.
Yeah, hopelessness, and then despair. Despair is when they don't see any way out of their situation. That it's never going to get any better. This is it. And for someone that young to do it, man. I just, like I said, I still can't process it. I just still remember her face, and we're pretty good in class. I had a bunch of classes with her at Harding, and who else, man? Now, I didn't really know her. I just knew her, I think, through other people from Northeast, Lisa Story and her little gang, and Sarah Dell and all them was it Lori Rayner?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She did. I think she took her own life too, didn't she?
Yep. Well, nobody really knows. It was she had bought a gun. I had been to her house and she showed me the gun. It was a revolver. She's like, she bought it for protection or whatever. And we had dated for a while, probably 6 months, and then kind of broke it off. And she was still running around with one of my ex-girlfriends, Heidi. And I don't know, some time elapsed. And then she was like, hey, come over, look at this gun or whatever. So I went over there. She lived in Edgemere Park, and I saw it, and I was like, cool, whatever, whatever. And she was living with another girl, and I think that was her girlfriend. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And then
that's what I'd heard. I had heard that it had something to do with the relationship.
They got into a fight.
Yeah, that
or
got
something.
Into a fight, yeah.
So, but I don't know. And her mom, they were very wealthy, and so I think they cremated her, and it was like whatever happened is history, because they're just going to move on.
Wow.
So yeah, I remember that. That was heartbreaking too. It's like, man.
Yeah, I'd heard about it.
She was so fun.
Yeah, I just remember seeing her at a lot of LG's parties, man, and you just don't. Even people that you don't really know that well, but you know them well enough. You've got your close circle of friends, but it just extends out. Like, when we talk about Harding, a lot of the names that that we've thrown out, we might have not been tight with those people, but it was like there were. It
was a camaraderie.
Yeah,
still.
yeah. They were part of our community, man.
Our extended family.
Yeah. And that's the way I feel about Northwest Classen, man. It's just, Northwest Classen was a huge high school, man. And I mean, so much happened there, man, that just, they've got all these pages, and, there's a lady that has a page, and she keeps up with all of the people that graduated from Northwest Classen or even attended it, that she gets word of that have passed away. I mean, maybe class of 68, 70, whatever. Obviously people that I've never met before, but I feel some kind of kinship towards them because they were a night, and then people just, because I've got a lot of people that I'm friends with on Facebook that went to Northwest, different classes, whatnot, and people just chime in and say, hey, safe travels, man, nights forever. And I feel like I'm obligated to do that. So every time I see one, because I just, you went there and you just have this connection with the school, just like I still do with Harding. The building, even though the building's empty now, if I drive by it, 33rd and Chartel, man, all stuff started to pop up, and it was just a part of our lives, man. And you had asked, why do you think it's that way? Maybe it's that way for everybody. That was maybe. I mean,
it's that way for me too.
Yeah.
Anytime you.
Yeah. I mean,
my daughter. This is funny. My daughter was with me this weekend. She had an eraser, one of those big pink erasers, block.
Yeah.
And you smell it, and boy, it takes you right freaking back to school when like 8th grade Harding. It takes me. You smell that, and it's like, dang, man, that's insane.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, but a smell can do it, man.
And if you meet a guy, like if you're sitting at a bar just having a beer, whatever, watching a football game, and the guy bellies up to the bar next to you, he's drinking a beer. Hey, what's going on? Not much. Da 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 da. And you're like, oh, what do you do? Whatever. And then he's like, yeah, I've been training for about 7 years. I'm a black belt in judo, and instantly, you guys are bonded.
Yeah, you start talking, man. Oh yeah, man. Yeah,
because you went through the grind too.
Oh yeah. You got something in common, man. Yeah, man. That's oh yeah, man.
Just like if I went to Harding in '82. Oh, well, you're my boy.
It's it. Soldiers say the same thing.
Oh God, deep bonds.
Very, very, very. Yeah, and the more hell they go through, the tighter they become.
Yeah.
The tighter
esprit de corps.
Yeah. A real good friend of mine, man. I mean, he was in. Well, actually, I have a few, man, that have done tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. But a friend of mine, Fox Wood, he lives out in Yukon, and he used to be one of my judo students back in the day. He went to PC North. There was a whole PC North crowd that I got to know just from this gym that I used to work out at, Gold's Gym on Northwest Expressway in Council. It's not there anymore. Back then they were individually owned. Now they're corporate owned. but and that's PC North territory, right down the road. And so you see these people at the gym every day, man. You slowly get to know them, and he went off to Iraq, and the stuff that he saw, and he talks about his experiences and stuff, and how he's lost fellow soldiers that some that have come back. They just couldn't adjust to regular life, man. Young, guys in their mid-20s or not even 30 yet, committing suicide, man, because they just
by the dozens.
Yeah, I think was it 20 a day, 20 events a day,
something like that, or
something
more.
ridiculous. Just think about that number for a second, man. I mean, I can't even fathom. And I mean, you just multiply that time 365 times 20.
Yeah.
That's
minimum.
Minimum. That's how many veterans, and can't wrap my head around it, man.
I listened to a podcast. It was a Jocko podcast, and he had Dakota Meyer on, who was that guy that lost his whole team, and he came back, and he's like, he had his gun to his head a couple of times, and just one of his buddies took the round out of the chamber, and so it didn't go off, and he's like...
Yeah, there's Dakota Meyer. There's also, what's his name, Marcus Luttrell from Lone Survivor. I read that book before the movie came out.
That's insane stories.
Yeah, the book is a man with seals, man. That's a different breed of cat, man. I think I only knew one guy that actually tried to make it, and he blew both of his eardrums out, and he had to get, he couldn't continue. I think it was Brandon Robertson. He was an upperclassman. I think he was in John Albert's grade. Pretty tough dude, and I'd heard that he had, that he had gone off, and he was going to try and be a Navy SEAL or something like that, and that he had been, received an injury in training. But yeah, I mean, I just can't imagine getting through that, man. I'm sure you know who David Goggins is, right? Yeah, pretty much Superman.
You got to get a new mission when you get back, because when you're overseas and you're doing that for whatever 3-6 months, you just have one mission, and it's just kill the bad guys. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
And then when you get back here, you have to, the electric bill, all the stuff that you didn't have to worry about, you got to worry about. And it's just like you don't have a mission. All of a sudden, your mission now is to find your mission. So if you don't find one pretty quick, you lose hope, and you lose purpose, and you lose everything. At that point, you're just like, what do I do?
Yeah, certain things. I mean, I've watched a lot of documentaries about PTSD and soldiers coming back and trying to readjust back into just normal society. I mean, they just sitting. I mean, nothing to do. So they pick up a bottle, man. They miss their buddies. They miss the structure of missions and
the camaraderie, putting their life on the line,
purpose.
Saving.
Now they're coming back to it's being a parent and going to soccer games or football games or whatnot, and they just can't. Some just can't. They just can't do it, man. So it's crazy.
I've got that kind of mentality, or I'm trying to get to that mentality of, those guys, they've given their life, sacrificed everything.
Yeah. And
then what are we going to do? We're just going to sit around and whatever, get drunk and just, blow our lives away. It's like some of those guys talk about, like Tim Kennedy and Goggins and all those guys. They're just like, they're living their life 150% because for their buddies.
Yeah.
They sacrificed everything. The least they could do is get after it and go out there and just make things happen.
Yeah, you gotta, like I said, obviously, special forces, any branch of the military, they are, those are, I call it 1%ers, man. Those are top 1%. I mean, to be able to make it. I mean, Army Green Berets, a lot of people don't talk about it, but it's top 1%, man. That's to be able to earn that beret. I mean, you just never, you take that to your grave, man.
That's a different kind of person.
Different kind of person, man. Mental, man. Where they
infiltrate other governments and
nuts,
network with the bad. I mean,
the running alone on the first day would have did that would have got. I would have rang that bell the first day, boy.
Right.
The first couple of hours of running would have got me, man.
I'm out of here.
I was never a big runner, man. Those guys, man. You see what they have to do, man. Have you ever seen it's a documentary series? It's probably the best one about SEALs, man. SEAL Team 2.
I've got a list of them that they've talked about before, like the movies.
The commentator, it was a female, and Bud 234.
Okay.
Bud's Class 234. If you haven't seen that one, oh man, and it's a series of them.
Okay.
It follows his class, and it's the best one I've ever seen. It's a pretty old documentary, but you get to know these guys that are on there, and you see them make it through the end. I think Rivera, it was his second or third time going through, and you're like, of course they leave a lot of stuff out, but they show a lot of stuff that they have to do, man. The running and the swimming, and a lot of people think that it's just about getting through buds, but guys like Jock on them say it's not, because you get through buds, man, you still have to be able to shoot. You got
to do all that stuff on a regular basis.
On a regular basis, man.
Wet and sandy and cold.
You could get through all that. You could get through the physical part of it, but if you can't shoot,
yeah,
see ya. You got
to be able to. You got to be a stud just to. That's the baseline.
Yeah,
is to be a stud.
Yeah, I'm earning that trident, man. It's just got to be insane, man. I mean, it's I remember getting my degree from college. I mean, that was a real big thing for my mother, but she had passed away already. But I remember how important it was to her. And it was really important to me because it was important to her. But I knew that I'd always been a good student before, and that like I said, I've made so many mistakes, man. Thank God none of them got me in trouble, legal trouble or anything. It was just, just being lazy and just doing, you know what I'm saying? I mean, hindsight's always 20/20. Like, man, I should have done this, I should have done that. Well, I never went to prison and I never killed anybody, so I can't be doing you can't be doing that bad.
That's better than me. I went to jail a couple of times.
Oh, did you?
Got out immediately, of course, but never killed anybody.
Yeah, everybody's had their their little scuffles. OU, Texas, stupid stuff like that where nobody got hurt. But I'm talking about. Because we've known some people. We know some people that are still in jail. Yeah, I know some people that are still there that are never getting out. They're never getting out. I went to high school with. But I remember hearing that, man, like after 87, hey man, get your act together, man, because you got two doors, dead or in jail. Dead or in jail. That's true. That's true. If you don't get it together, man, you don't stop going from bar to bar and getting in fist fights and and doing. You just there's only two doors. Pick one.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys ended up that way, man. They just got older and older and older and couldn't let the party lifestyle go. Because eventually, you hang out in bars long enough, if that's really all you do. Trouble.
Which it is for some people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Trouble will find you. Trouble can find you even when you could just not be even looking for you. You could just be chilling, be wrong place, wrong time. You could be on a date and trouble can find you. It has many of us.
That's
now. Yeah. All of a sudden, a couple guys got a problem with you. You don't know why, what, who, but you're in it now. And you just never know, man. You just never know. But I still like popping into a dive bar every now and then, of course. But man, we used to make a run of them, So after high school, what did you do a few years after high school?
Man, I was just running around clubbing a lot. I remember me and Brad Flowers were a lot. Brad Flowers, man.
That's funny.
And he ended up
disappeared. I remember he joined the Navy. I remember he was he really really looked up to the SEALs. Who doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
You know, who doesn't? And so he took off, went into the Navy, and I talked to him a couple of times. And I remember he had I think he had a little girl with the woman that he met. He came back, and I never really saw that much of him, man, and lost touch for many years. And all of a sudden he had popped up on Facebook. He had a full beard, all tacked out, and he was up in the hills in Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
Had the shades on and everything, and reached out to him, got his email, and I emailed him, and he emailed me back. I emailed him, he emailed me back, and all of a sudden he was gone again. Never heard from him again. And this is years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, did he get killed over there? You know, I mean, but I was like, no, that couldn't be, because his brother, Mike Flowers, is a friend of mine and somebody would have told me.
Is that Mike Flowers that I know?
I don't know.
Skinny guy with dark hair?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He got in a car wreck a long time ago, right?
I don't know.
Mike Flowers did.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the same one. I never heard of Mike again, but I remember, he's got a younger brother named Mike.
Okay.
And he's never really on Facebook that much. Every now and then he'll pop up, but he's on there. But there's just too many people I'm connected to on Facebook from Northwest. If something like that would have happened to Brad Flowers, for no one to know.
Yeah, somebody would have known.
Yeah, somebody, there would have been a notice. Somebody would have known, man. That would have been a pretty popular guy from Northwest. And so I figured that maybe he was just, where was he living? Was he in Arizona or so? The last time I talked, I don't know, man, but he had an old lady, and maybe they were raising a couple kids. But I made a comment about 2 weeks ago about there were different people from different classes on Facebook talking about, their class was the best. Class of 86, man, we were the best that ever went to that school. And people were chiming in, nah, man, 85, that was the shit, And so I jumped in and I said, class of 87, never was one better. So I remember going back like a day later and looking at the comments, because I was waiting for some other people to start talking smack, and there were several likes on there, and Brad Flowers was one of them.
Huh.
He just he hit like, and we were the same class of 87, and I was like, okay, well, cool. Maybe he's just.
I had a buddy of mine that was like that. He went to the Air Force Academy. His name was Rod Lewis.
Oh, Lewis, right? Yeah. Well, isn't he a general now at the Pentagon?
Yeah, he's like a colonel, lieutenant general or something.
Yeah, he's
and he doesn't do a lot of that just because of the security issues.
Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of him.
Yeah.
Because he went to Air Force Academy, right? Mm-hmm. He was real smart. He was hard.
Played football.
Yeah, him and
Steve.
They were big time studs at Harding. Him and Harold.
I know you're talking about.
Light skinned.
Vic, was it Vic?
No, it was Rodney Lewis and Harold Thompson.
Harold Thompson.
Thompson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harold
There's
Thompson.
A few studs.
Yeah. Didn't they work? I think they both, because I remember, man, they always had nice clothes. didn't they work at Coit's? Remember that was a big thing? Yep. Yeah, where people, man.
That's where I kind of met him.
Yeah.
He had a Cadillac.
Yeah, man.
Rodney did, and it was just. Wasn't all crazy, it was just a clean Cadillac.
You could tell, man. He
was put together, man.
Yeah, well, him and Harold, man. I mean, they were. You could tell they could throw some.
I think he was 17 years old, brick like. I was just like
Harold too, man. Big old quads, man, and cock diesel, man. You just tell nobody, nobody messed with him, man. And but I remember
like 16 or 17. He was like 6'2", like 220, just a. Monsters,
man. Yeah, but man, Parrish was like that.
Yeah,
and them guys.
Parrish was about 5'11", 6 foot, but he was a monster too.
Big man, big muscle. The Bobby Dunn, man, they were cut.
Bobby Dunn was a giant.
Yeah, man, they had a 6 pack. They had 6 pack abs, all that, man. And it was something that great going.
I'm
these
trying
guys.
To get Parrish on here. I sent him a message the other day.
Man,
come on, I got to talk to you.
Tell him I said, what's up, man. Oh man, he was always cool too, man. He I remember he dated Jean Harris over at Harding. black girl. She had a little black mole, good looking girl, and she was my girlfriend for a while. And I was always worried about, man, Paris gonna kick my ass, man. But I had him in a bunch of classes, and he knew. I think after they broke up, but he was always
He wasn't like that.
Yeah, he wasn't like that, man. But he would walk by and go, "What up, John? Cool ass."
He's got that look.
Yeah.
That look like he could just jack you up.
Jack some shit up, man.
But he was so soft spoken.
Yeah. You tell, boy. I tell you what. I bet if he got mad, started throwing knuckles, man. But somebody be in some trouble. But Jean passed away. Like, yeah, like she didn't even look like herself, man. Has it been 2 years? I don't even think it's been that long.
Mm.
But I had asked somebody on Facebook, and Big Norris White had asked me, man, Jean passed away. I'm like, yeah, man, she did, man. It's like, what happened? I'm like, I just heard she got sick, man. Unfortunately, a lot of our old classmates, some of them, a lot of them never took care. Well, I don't want to say a lot of them. Some of them, they didn't take care of themselves. And I'm not saying that that's what happened to Jean, but some got cancer. Cancer gets a lot of people, man. But people that I've known, like personally, who just, smoked a lot, drank a lot, never stopped, never cared about what they ate, never got into a workout regimen. You hit your 50s and your body,
my middle 40s.
Yeah. Your body can only take so much, man. And unfortunately, man, it catches up to you. It catches up to you. I finally got my brother to stop smoking. He had tried multiple times, and I found this out from a surgeon. And I didn't know. I knew smoking was bad. I know what it killed my mother, killed my father. They smoked a lot, killed my aunt. Smoked for decades. But a surgeon told me that you take your average healthy adult, or just human being, whatever, lights up a cigarette. It restricts their blood flow by 50%.
Wow.
Just by smoking. That's what it does. I never heard that before. Now, I always thought that over the long run, because really it's almost like.
I thought it just ruined your lungs.
Yeah. You're just putting charcoal, basically. Now, the longer you smoke, the worse it becomes, and sometimes you get something that's chronic. You get something you can't get rid of, man. Lung cancer, and then metastasizes, which is what happened to my mother. Even though my mother had stopped smoking for many, many, many years, but the damage had been done.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor told me, said typically what happens is, if you got lung cancer, it metastasizes to the brain, and then, brain disease, and that's exactly what happened, I remember being angry at that doctor, like, you don't even know my mother. How do you know this is going to happen to her? I mean, this is like within the first couple of weeks of her being diagnosed with it. How do you know my mother's going to die? I remember being real mad, but that's exactly what happened to her. 6 months later, she was gone. She was a healthy 77-year-old, and then she was gone. 6 months. It's not a long time. Very close to her, man. Struggled with it. Still do sometimes. Those voids are never filled, man. I don't know why anybody uses words like closure. They ought to use the word coping.
Yeah.
Because your coping skills get better. I watched a documentary. I don't know if you've ever seen this one. If you haven't, you need to watch it. It's called Boy Interrupted. Remember, like the movie Girl Interrupted with Angelina Jolie? Well, it's a documentary, and the documentary was actually made by I think it's filmmakers who are actually a couple, and their son committed suicide at like, was it 14, 15, something like that? But it's a very powerful documentary, man. And it's just about, when they first noticed that there were some issues with him, like he would play music, and his music would just be, he would write about songs that were dark when he was very young, and he would say things that were just out of character for anybody his age. Mm-hmm. It would just be dark things, and they couldn't make any sense of it. And it got to the point where he just really, really wanted to die, and he had been to, I think several different psychologists, psychiatrists, whatever, and one day he just jumped out of a window, man. This was like, he was doing homework, sitting on his bed doing homework. His dad checked on him, shut the door, and friggin' jumped out the window, man. Just killed himself. And but it's about that whole process in the family, and I was like, wow, I mean, how they come to terms with it, how the family dealt with it. And there was something that the grandmother said that I'll never forget. And she was talking about the topic of closure versus coping. And that she said, well, what choice do you have but to get up every morning and put one foot in front of the other? And she's talking about everybody. Now, we all lose people through our lives, human beings. You're not gonna live forever. We're all gonna go someday. People who haven't lost anybody now, I mean, at our age, they have, but, you can meet people that you work with or whatever, that you come across, maybe social circles, whatever, they may be in their mid-20s or whatever, haven't lost anybody yet, whether it be from illness, whether it be from an accident, God forbid, suicide, or God forbid, homicide, and they don't understand yet what that kind of pain is like. And there's all sorts of books written about grief and everything like that, but what's important to remember is everybody deals with it, copes with it in their own way. Like, you'll have some people that won't cry at their mom's funeral for whatever reason. And then some people can look at that and read it as, well, they must not really love their mother. How can you not cry at your mom's funeral? But maybe they don't cry at the funeral. They cried a ton before, and then they cry afterwards, or years afterwards. And everybody's different. Everybody's coping mechanisms are different. Take 5 people in a house. Somebody in the family dies. 2 or 3 people cope with it the same way, or the other 2 completely different. Somebody may go completely silent and never talk about the person for a very, very, very long time. Where you may have another person that thinks it's, okay, well, I'm going to talk about the person that passed away, but I'm only going to talk about the good memories, because that's the way that, because you hear that at a lot of funerals. Mm-hmm. We want to, this isn't a quote unquote funeral, but it's a celebration of their life. And when you think about them, you want to think about all the happy times, which is good. There's nothing wrong with that. But that doesn't work for everybody. Do you see what I'm saying? For some people, what works, their coping mechanism is just retreating into themselves and being quiet, and then they deal with it on their own when they're alone. And that's how they get through the day with the loss.
I think they deal with it internally.
Yes. Good point. Yeah. Good point. Yeah, internally. Yeah.
That's how pretty much how I deal with it. I'm like,
yes, some
it goes
people,
over and over and over in my brain. And
some people internalize it. I think I'm that way with my mother. I mean, I've gotten a lot. It was very tough after she died, man. I mean, I didn't care about anything, man.
How old were you?
Oh God, man, it was 2013. 52 now.
Okay.
Yeah, so wasn't too long ago. But I remember at the time how, I mean, I was in a really, really dark place. Couldn't process it. My mother's gone. This is somebody that I spent every Sunday with. We liked the same kinds of movies. We read the same books. Talked every week, and Sunday was her day. I would always, take food to her, rent a movie and go over there. And watching her go through that cancer stage and being powerless to do anything to stop it. is cruel. It's the only word I can think of, man. It's just cruel to watch a person who you just love pretty much unconditionally. I mean, the love that you have for that person is just so deeply ingrained. I mean, it just rages through your blood. That person is just, they've been a part of your life for, I mean, you know, I hope everyone feels that way about their parent. I know a lot of people don't, but a lot of people do, you know, and the losses are they're just staggering losses, man. They're monumental, they're monolithic losses, man. But I remember just laying in the dark, the lights off for hours, not wanting to do anything. And I was in the middle of finishing up school when she passed away. Of course, I told myself I was going to quit school. You know, I tried to quit 3 different times, but I had these classmates. I was going to SNU at the time, and they wouldn't let me. You know, they were like, no. You know, and they kept reminding me, remember you told us how important it was to your mother about, because even when she was getting, even in the early stages of her cancer, while she was progressively getting worse, every time I went to see her, by the time she was in a nursing home, she would always ask me, how's school going? How's school? You got to study tonight. She would always ask me that. And so that was one of the driving forces that made me finish, and with good grades. And when I was done, by that time I was numb because I was working full time. I was going to school at night, and I was going through one of SNU's adult studies program, which the curriculum was just, I mean, you know, I was sleeping out 3 hours a night, 4 hours a night, 4 hours if I was lucky, you know. So I'm working full time, getting off at 5:30, going to the nursing home to see my mother, you know, which was traumatizing in itself. Going back home, maybe nap for an hour, get up, and it's research and writing, setting an alarm clock, turning off the light, nap for 2 hours, get up, and this would just go on through the night. Finally, shut everything down, and stuff would just be all over my bed, papers and the laptop, whatever, and get up and you go to work. You work all day, work 8 hours. And then you had to repeat that. And then weekends, well, there were no such thing as weekends because they were just spent in the library and then the nursing home, you know, and trying to keep that going on, and then graduating. And I've often asked myself, well, how did I do it? I don't have an answer.
Day by day.
I just think I got into, because I felt nothing then. I was just this robot I knew I had to get up at a certain time. I knew I had to be at work at a certain time. When I got off at 5, I knew what I had to do. And it just, I just did it. You know, I just kept on doing it until, I didn't even think about it until one day, basically somebody told me to stop, which was, they came to the class and they had you fill out these little orange cards. I remember I was dozing off because I was so exhausted. You know, it was like, you know, drinking yourself sober. You know, you're so tired. You hear this, you know, on the SEAL podcast or whatever. You know, they get to a point where their mind takes over. That's what the Navy's looking for in those guys, where the mind the body is just, those are the only guys that can make it through special forces, you know. But, you know, I'm just making an example. Obviously, I'm not saying that I'm made of that, but people can reach those places, you know, when they have to. Some people can reach in and pull it out when they need to. Sometimes it just happens just out of necessity and they don't even know it. And I think that's what happened to me, because I just remember this lady coming and touching me on the shoulder going, hey, you know, can you fill this out? And I was like, well, what's this? It's like, it's for your cap and gown for graduation. And I was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, oh yeah. And it still didn't click. And I filled it out, gave it back to her, and drove home. I didn't even think anything about it. It was just something else that somebody told me to do, that I just had to do at that moment, you know. And for me to sleep more than 4 hours, I think it took me almost 2 months, because I'd been doing it for a year and a half to get through that program. It was compressed, man. I mean, there was so much work to do, and you have to flip a switch on because everything else goes on hold. You know, I was single, didn't have a girlfriend, but there were people in that program that had family. There was a girl, her name was Allison, and you know, we have our own little Facebook group. We call ourselves FSG 66. Well, that was the actual name of our group, Family Studies Group 66. And I call us, I nicknamed us SEAL Team 66, you know, SEAL Team 66, yeah. But every now and then we'll have these little reunions, whatever. But a girl named Allison that was in our class that graduated, she had twins right in the middle of the program, and she still graduated. And she already had 2 children. You know, she had a, you know, very happy married life. You know, I remember her husband he'd come up to class and he'd bring her flowers. Everybody thought that was sweet and everything. But I remember she had twins in the middle. And the point I'm trying to make is, it's just amazing what people can accomplish if they put their mind to it. Because I saw that in that classroom.
Doesn't David talk about this? Dave Goggins talk about there's a like a wall that you run and run and run and run and run, and you hit that wall, and that wall usually stops most people. But if you get beyond that wall, then you're good to go. It's kind of like fasting. You got to break through that first 18 hours, and then your body goes into fat burning mode, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I believe it, man. I mean, especially coming from such a heavyweight like him, man. I mean, he's an authority on overcoming
mental toughness,
overcoming mental obstacles. I mean, you got to bow down to that guy, man. I mean, he's still doing that now, running 100-mile marathons, crazy shit like that. I mean, come on.
He runs a marathon like every day. Or
Yeah,
half a day.
like nuts, man. He's just got that. He's got that mental attitude, but that's what winners are made of, man.
It seems like that's what you went through a little bit trying to get through that school.
Yeah, man. I think it was. I didn't know I had that in me. I had no idea that I had that in me.
That's what he says.
Yeah, I had no idea that I had that in me. Looking back now, I'm like, wow. I mean, did I really do that? You know, I'm still at the same company, still work for the same company. You know, never my performance and none of it ever declined. You know, and I did well in school, and I finished. And at the same time, probably the most beloved person in my life was dying right in front of me, you know? So, but, you you said we were going to talk about, martial arts, and I remember that stuff in the early days, well, actually on through the years, man. I remember guys that, because everybody's a tough guy when they're having a beer. Everybody, and I don't mean, fighting or whatever, but I'm talking about, yeah, man, we'll do this, we'll do that. Yeah, man, we'll do that. Monday, man, I'll call you Monday, and, a few of them would show up to the dojo.
And this is judo.
Judo. And, the first 30, 45 minutes, the warm-ups alone, the uchikomis, the fit-ins and the throws you got to take, and all the falls you have to take, and I mean, all the abdominal exercises and the running and just the flipping and throwing and getting thrown, just to get to the meat and potatoes of the actual practice. So you'd go through warm-up, technique.
How old were you when you started judo?
Oh, man.
And why? Over Taekwondo was real big then?
Well,
way back?
See, man, I mean, when I was in high school, I did some I would really call it just kind of backyard karate, American karate. I knew some guys that were in it, and they would kind of teach me. I'd gone up to Bill Cagle's a couple of
He was
times.
real big in the 80s.
Yeah. But there was a guy that fought out of there, Dennis Freer. He was black, but he was really good, man. Really good. Fast as hell, man. Little guy. But he taught me a lot, and I'd learn from different people. But I could never afford it. I could never afford the classes, man. So I would just kind of learn from people, and Tyrus Adams, Sean Tyrus Adams, who was real good friends with Larry Knowles. He was pretty good at karate, and he would. My best friend Trevor Stevens, after school we would walk to his mom's apartment, and he would drill the hell out of us, man, and we would crawl out of that apartment, man, and have to walk home. Kind of stuff we did the 80s, man. I loved it. But yeah, man, I got into it because I got into judo because big, Dana Doomking?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that's probably the toughest guy. That's the toughest guy I've ever met in my life, dude. Him and his brothers were, Jesus,
The
just on,
Doomkings.
yeah, just on another level, man. But I met him through Sean Hughes was a real good friend of mine, and they're all Native American, and then I got to, of course, the Doom King name was just synonymous with toughness. And you're like, wow,
Bouncers everywhere, fighters.
So I think I was a sophomore. I might have heard their name when I was a freshman. I don't think I met him till I was a sophomore. And I was like, Jesus, huge, man, whatever. And
it's like a pile of bricks
just,
that walk around.
300 and something, 320, man. I mean, just
like 5'11" or something.
Yeah, just insane, man. I remember holding focus mitts for him, and him knocking the focus mitts off. You couldn't even hold focus mitts. He'd hit them, they'd fly out. It'd be funny, and he'd laugh, man. He's the one who got me into it. And I remember my first judo lesson was with him, and we went to there was a gym. Was it International or All American? Might have been All American, which was right by that McDonald's that we're talking about, where the skinhead fried. It was All American. Well, they had these aerobics rooms in the back, whatever, and they were just padded carpet. First judo lesson, sweeps me off my feet, knocks the wind out of me. I never looked back. Never looked back, man. That was the first one. Then I ended up going to with him down to Pat Burris's down in Norman. Pat Burris was down in Norman. It's called USA Stars now. They're in Moore, but back then it was Quest for Gold. And Pat Burris he's a former Olympic coach, former Olympian in judo. I think he lived in Japan for hardcore, man, hardcore. And Pat
For
Burris,
people that don't know, what is judo? What kind of a martial art is it? Essentially, it's a throwing, correct?
Well, no. It's a grappling art. Now, here's what, jiu-jitsu came from judo. Jiu-jitsu actually came from judo. Now, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, what happened is because judo is a two-tier system. You have your tachiwaza, which is your standing, which it's known for because
your standing game.
Your standing game, yeah. Your takedowns, basically, your throws and your takedowns and everything. And when people think of judo, who really don't know anything about martial arts, they're thinking, oh, these guys just throw each other. Well, that's tachiwaza. Then you have newaza. Newaza is the grappling. It's what happens after you go to the ground. There's a whole school of it. The arm locks, the strangles, all of that. Now, if you look into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu history, we can look it up right now, a guy named Msuya Maeda, Maeda, I think, he went to Brazil and he taught one of the older Gracies that newaza, that morphed into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and what it is today. So it's funny, man, when, you'll be online and, there's all sorts of martial arts forums and I can always tell the knuckleheads that don't know anything. Like, well, you judo guys, you just throw each other. When jiu-jitsu, we do this, and this. And I was asking, well,
probably just kids.
Where did it come from? No, about grown adults, man. Just people that just don't know. people run their mouths online all the time about shit, because like everybody's a tough guy online. Not everybody, but you'll have those jerks online because they're sitting behind a computer and they can talk tough and everything like that. And you don't know what you're talking about. And but just look up the history of jiu-jitsu. I'll wait while you do it. And come back and talk to me. How did a traditional Japanese martial art, which was, I think, jujutsu, J-U-J, J-U-J-U, so how did he get from Japan to Brazil? Dude, how did he get there? Yeah, I'll wait. Msuya Maeda taught, was it Helio or maybe Helio's father? I don't know. We can Google it. You can Google it anytime.
A real old first generation guy.
But that's how we got to Brazil. So, Newaza in judo is very similar. It's similar to Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but different. And the names are different. You just have to look at, like for instance, your cross arm lock, your standard arm bar, the Ronda Rousey arm bar. People go, it's a Ronda Rousey arm bar. No, it's Juji Gatami. It's a cross arm lock. What do they call it in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? Arm bar?
Mm-hmm.
But it's always been named since, Jigoro Kano.
Some of the old guys call it arm lock.
Yeah, the arm lock, cross arm lock. Mm-hmm. But it's Juji Gatami. But now, people who are into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and who respect martial arts know the history of Jiu-Jitsu, respect everything. They know what Juji Gatami is, and they will say, like, I'll go on, YouTube and I'll watch. I'm always watching competition videos and stuff like that, and all that, and I'll see jiu-jitsu guys name a particular jiu-jitsu move with a Japanese name. That's what tells me that guy is probably a martial artist or just somebody
legitimate jiu-jitsu practitioner.
He's a legitimate martial artist. He's a guy that you wouldn't mind training with.
Right.
Okay, he understands, because it's all about, when you get into martial arts, whether it be I don't care if it's Taekwondo, Kenpo, Aikido, whatever. As you progress through the years, if you stick with it, it's not about how a specific technique works. It's about why it works. Hickson Gracie talks about that quite a bit. Well, why does it work? And those are the nuts and bolts. The little intangibles, just small positioning on a certain pin. In judo, it's called osekomi. Well, in jiu-jitsu, they'll call,
cross-side or something.
Yeah, well, like for instance, they'll call Yoko is side. Yoko Shio Gatami is side control in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, mm-hmm. But it's the same move. Okay, different variations of it. You have your standard, and then seeing judo, when you first get introduced to Newaza, the first thing that you're going to learn is what's called a pin cycle, and it's a cycle of pins. There's about 5 of them where you start, and you never remove pressure off of the chest of the opponent, and you just transition into these different pins where you end up at your starting point.
And in jiu-jitsu, that's called pressure passing.
Okay, see what I'm saying?
And for everybody,
mm-hmm.
John is a black belt in judo,
yeah.
And I am a white belt in jiu-jitsu. I'm like a 1 year
BJJ, man.
BJJ.
Gotta crawl before you can walk, man. Gotta crawl before you can walk. Great, good stuff, man. Especially at our age, man. Now I've been in it for decades. Mm-hmm. But for you to get in it and have been in it a year and still, that just says a lot about you, man. Number one, it's good that you're doing something that's, at our age, can be pretty challenging. It can be challenging in your 20s or 19, whatever. Trust me, man. I've
got a trick. I've got to pick my training partners carefully.
Yeah.
I've made the mistake of picking, or not picking, just getting teamed up with the 21-year-old white belt his first day.
Yeah.
And he's just going psycho on me.
Well, you know what they say. I mean, we have there was this old saying in I'm sure it's still around in judo schools all over the place. Is the worst person to train with is a friggin' white belt.
Yeah.
A brand new one. Because they don't
know how their body works.
They're bad. Well, think about when you're throwing, man. They don't take care of their partner. They're just going batshit crazy, and they're trying to dump you on your head, or they're trying to you could be showing them an arm lock, and they'll take your arm and they'll freaking try to snap it. It's like, oh, I didn't know. Well, dude, what don't you know, man? I mean, and I've seen a lot of guys get kicked out of dojos because of that.
Yeah.
Because they just can't learn to take care of their partner, because it's very important in judo. I'm sure it's very important in jiu-jitsu. You got to take care of your partner, man, because you want them to come back. Don't you want to come back? Mm-hmm. And there's always payback in the dojo. There's always payback, man. If you're rolling lightly with somebody, or you guys, it's kind of like two guys sparring. They put on the gloves and we're just going to go real light, and one guy hauls off and just cold cocks the other guy because he sees an opening, just to get one in. Well, who would do something like that, man? To
somebody that doesn't belong there.
Someone that doesn't belong there.
And he's going to get his head knocked off by somebody.
Which is exactly what happens. Is you're going to get your comeuppance. Is what they say. There's always payback. What goes around comes around, bro. So you always take care of your partner, because it's judo, mutual welfare and benefit. It's mutual. That's the key word, mutual. You and your partner work out. The benefit is supposed to, the workout, the training is supposed to benefit both parties, whoever it is, Tori and Uke. Like if I'm throwing you, if we're practicing a throw, I'm Tori, you're Uke, you're the one being thrown. Like if we could be going over an inside leg trip, so I'm going to be Tori, I'm going to load up 9, I'm going to throw on number 10, so you'd be ready for it. But when I throw,
I go with it.
I'll make sure that I hold the gi. Now you're going to hit, and I want to make sure that you fall right.
Break fall.
Yeah. That's actually the first thing you learn in judo is some people call it tumbling.
Same thing.
Yeah.
In jiu-jitsu, exactly. Break fall first. Yeah. Number 1.
Yeah, exactly. Ukimi. Tsukimi. But the pin cycle. When you get introduced to newaza, now a good judo school will have a bifurcated training system where you're learning as much tachiwaza as you are newaza. But a lot of judo schools will really, really concentrate on throwing and then a little bit of newaza, and that's probably because of the way that the international competition rules are set up. Because you can get rid of somebody, you can get rid of your opponent just with a perfect throw and never have to hit the ground. But they call the newaza guys the hunters, the guys that are always hunting for the neck or the armbar or whatever. They love being on the ground. And everybody's got a different style. There's a ton of techniques in judo, on the ground, on the feet. In jiu-jitsu, there's a ton of moves. You can come back 5 lifetimes and maybe master 10. In one lifetime, maybe 5. There's just too many. And, they say that you don't master a particular technique until you've done it at least 10,000 times.
10,000 reps.
10,000
reps.
10,000 reps. Well, Pat Burris, he would watch his students and he'd take 5 guys, put them in the same class, teach them the same. They could have the same curriculum, judo curriculum or whatever. Could be the same with jiu-jitsu. You could show them the same techniques, make them drill the same techniques the same amount of times, and you will watch each one of those, or some of them. Three may like the same throw or like technique, but maybe 2 or 3 of them, you'll watch them veer off into a different technique than the other ones. because for whatever reason, that technique is natural to them. It comes better. It's like, yeah, like me, one arm shoulder throw, the two arm shoulder. I was just Seoi Nage is a shoulder throw in judo. You see a lot of it. It was just never my thing. I'm a taller player. You have to get lower. People drop on their knees, to really get it. Especially there were some guys that were taller than me, 6'4", 6'5", that liked the shoulder throw. Well, everybody's shorter than you, so how are you going to shoulder throw? You have to drop. You drop your knees. I just didn't like it. Now, what I really liked were the foot throws, the ashiwaza, which are all the leg techniques. For some reason, the foot sweeps, they just came natural to me, and that's what I excelled at. In the dojo, and still to this day, those are my favorite techniques, and a lot of the hip throws and stuff like that. But like the shoulder throws, I could never get into for some reason. It just wasn't my thing, but you still learn it. That doesn't mean that has to be your quote takui waza, which is your favorite technique. So
now somebody that's maybe 5'7" and 190 is probably better suited for those, or no?
Oh yeah. The fireman's carries too. The shorter, stockier wrestler type guys. You had some taller guys that just because they really, really love that particular technique, well, they would just make it work. There's always a way to make it work. It just depends, man. But that's the thing. That's what I love about martial arts in general. I mean, especially judo, jiu-jitsu, whatever, man, because guys would just cross-train. Jiu-jitsu guys would come in, judo guys would go to jiu-jitsu school, because the newaza, the groundwork, I mean, the goal is still the same. Pinning is control. Like, I know a lot of wrestlers, man, and, when you talk to people that don't know anything about any combat sports at all, the dude drinking beer, eating chips, and man, if that was me, I would have done this, and it's like pinning is stupid. What do people pin? Hey, dumbass. Pinning means control, means controlling. When you can control your opponent, you can submit your opponent. You can definitely finish him. You ever get a guy on top of you that you can't get off?
Not fun.
That's controlling. Yeah, they control you, man. They can finish you anytime they want. Eventually, the guy on the bottom is going to spend all of his energy trying to get out from being on bottom. They don't understand, unless they've done it, how hard it is to get off the bottom when somebody on top of you knows what the hell that they're doing. And when you know what you're doing, and you have somebody in one osekomi position, you pick the pin, whatever it is, they just relax.
Let them burn out underneath there.
They'll just let you burn, man.
And then they're gonna give up.
They arm lock, they choke, they leg lock, they do whatever. Or
you don't even have to. I've submitted guys just by wearing them out.
Yeah. They'll just they can't do anything.
No.
Yeah,
and they run out of gas.
Man, and they
get claustrophobic.
It's one of the they say one of the worst places to be is absolutely dead tired in a street fight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're ready to give up or run.
Yeah. And that's where the mind. You see what I'm saying? But that's where the training and the hundreds or thousands of hours of years of repetition comes in. Those brutal training sessions down at Pat Burst in the summertime, no AC, in a gi, man. And I'm talking, in a warehouse, and he would do that. He would do that on purpose.
Yeah.
And he would go and he would turn heaters on, and then he would open up like the other end of the warehouse. He would he would pull up like this small like garage door just for but he'd have heaters on. This isn't some Oklahoma, you know how brutal they are.
Yeah.
Man, I'm telling you. And then going through his workout. So 45 minutes of just jacked up warm-ups, man. Then technique. Then you had to rumble with everybody.
And
then
you rolled.
He would start with tachiwaza. Standing. Mm-hmm. No newaza to begin with. You went through everybody. You'd have a 3-minute timer. Like me and you would pair up. It would go off.
Yep.
Trying to throw each other. It would go off. You just look right. You moved on to the next person. That would go on until everybody has been through everybody. Then he'd let you break. Then it was newaza. Then it was all ground. Everybody get on the ground.
That's brutal.
Pick a partner. it didn't matter if you know, like me, I'm 243. Like it didn't matter if the guy was 150. But that girl's in the class too. It was a girl. They got some too, man. It didn't matter, you know. And they'd have to roll with you for 3 minutes. That buzzer went off, and he would stand there. You couldn't get off the mat. You couldn't, not without permission. You know, you'd pay if you tried to. Well, first of all, he'd catch you anyway. Where are you going? I didn't give you permission to get off. And I mean, you would do that, and then you would get done with practice, and then he drove me crazy when he did this, man. The bigger guys, you know, because you know we lift weights and judo, you know, and he really liked, because he always had athletes from all over the world that would come to his camps, that would come there. Plus, it was in Norman, and it was like right outside OU campus. So guess what? You had a lot of OU wrestlers coming in. It was just, and they had Conan's kickboxing, dude. They had guys that were fighting. I mean, early days of MMA, man. You know, I mean, there were guys there, dude, some hardcore guys that were just getting ready for those kinds of fights, man. You know, that were in there. And dude, you could see these, I mean, it was just nuts. So guys from Russia, I mean, they would come, because Pat Burr is so well respected in the world of judo, and he had this huge camp. So they're coming anywhere near Oklahoma, you know, they'd drive down to Norman. You know, they would show up and they'd be getting ready for some tournament. And Pat Burris always wanted guys to work out with these guys from his school. So he'd look at, hey, Johnny,
sweep your leg.
No. He would be like, he'd be like, you know, so-and-so's, he's getting ready for, European nationals in Bulgaria. You know, need some guys to throw, big guys, you know, and you guys can stay, right? You guys can stay, right? And you gonna tell your sensei no? You can tell, and this is after one of his workouts where you just want to get out of there, man. And in would come in some dude. He just rolled out of bed. He's just showing up at the dojo when you're getting ready to leave. He's fresh, man. And he's got a specific repertoire of techniques that he's trying. He's showing up to train now. This is his training session time now. And you don't know. He's already talked to Pat Burris a few days before. Pat Burris told him, yeah, hey, you come up on Thursday after my class, I'll have some guys stay and work out with you. You know, you don't know that they had that conversation, you know? Yeah. So this guy's showing up and he's expecting 5, 6, 7, 8 guys to be there ready to work out with him. He shows up. He hadn't done nothing all day. He shows up. He's warming up in the corner of one of the friggin' huge 4 mats that they've got in there. And you're already beat up. Your gi's got blood on it. You got skin peeling back from your fingers, man. And now
toes are all jacked
up. And now you got to wait for this dude. And this dude's a pro. You know, you could always tell because they would have a patch on the back of their jacket. And it would have like a country name and a number. Oh, that's an international competition friggin' patch, man. And you're like, you know, they always had a black belt on it. You know, so those were the days, man. But those workouts but that's what, that kind of thing, man. And it took mental toughness.
It kind of separates the men from the boys.
Yeah. It you know, and people ask me, well, why didn't you really try to compete? Because I'm like, man, you ever been to Pat Burris's workouts, dude? Because every training session was a competition. Every one. You threw down, dude. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just every single time it was the same structure. The warm-up, the drilling of the technique, the showing the drilling of the technique, and then the rumbling. And they call it full shiai with everybody. Standing, break, then newaza. So there's your competition right there. So I mean, I was never.
It's similar.
Yeah.
To the jiu-jitsu, we warm up, we do a technique, we drill the technique, and then we attack each other.
Yeah.
For whatever time until.
But that's the only way. You know, Joe Rogan says, you know, it's through sparring. And obviously he's not the only one who says it, but it's through sparring where you polish your technique, because Teddy Atlas says, to me, fight isn't a fight till there's resistance. Because you can drill techniques all day long. A boxer, well, not a boxer, not a real boxer, but somebody could have somebody hold mitts for them, and they can get down. They can look like Floyd Mayweather Jr. getting the timing down and everything. Okay, but what about when you get some resistance? When the guy isn't when he's just not standing there. People don't just stand there. People don't stand there and let you throw them. People don't stand there. People don't lay there and let you submit them. They do a lot of things that you don't expect them to do. You know what I'm saying? So, but that's how you get proficient in your techniques, man. I mean, that's how you master it. Juji Katami, the cross arm lock, man. I didn't know there were so many different ways to get in it, man. And I remember the camps Pat Burris would have down there, man. And different guys would come down there, and they would be like, "Hey, this guy's coming up from Missouri, and he's a Juji Gatami specialist." You'd be like, "Oh wow!" I mean, I thought we knew all the way to. Guy would show up and he would show you ways to get into Juji. You're like, "Huh? I didn't know you could."
People like Ronda Rousey have so many variations of those, and they're just
and then people who don't know anything will say, "Yeah, the Ronda Rousey armbar." No, it's not. It's not a Ronda Rousey. You know how long that
she didn't make that up.
You know how long that Juji Gatami roll's been around? It's a Juji Gatami roll.
She's just really, really good at it.
What she did was she drilled the hell out of it.
10,000 times.
She drilled the hell out of it, and as soon as she got you on the ground, and if she got on your back, she would roll. She would throw the low,
get her hooks in,
both leg number and roll, and she just drilled it to perfection. And there are guys that are that way with leg locks. There are guys that are that way with Kimuras. There are guys that way with taking the back. There
was one. Sorry to interrupt you. There was one fighter. Joe Rogan talked about this. I think it was last week. The guy wrote down. Oh, it was Gordon Ryan.
Gordon Ryan, yeah.
He wrote down what he was going to do.
Yeah, I was just about to mention. Yeah.
A triangle to this guy. He gave it to the ref or somebody and said, "Open this after the fight." And sure enough, he manipulated and did his thing. And then
did you see him?
I've seen a few of his fights.
Did you see him slap?
Yes,
Andre Galvao twice.
Hard in the face. Slapped him like his mama slapped him.
Slapped him twice, man.
Bam.
And you know what? I don't hear anything about that anymore now. And I'm like, do y'all know what the fuck just happened? Andre Galvao, who is a beast, got slapped, man. And I mean, now in the MMA world, I remember, all these, these channels for MMA guys on YouTube talking about that and going, man. And I remember one guy put it best. He said, "Man, you know what? I'm not the biggest guy. This guy had cauliflower ears and all that, and jiu-jitsu guy." And he's like, "Man, I'll tell you what. You look at Brock Lesnar, and he's a big, scary guy. And he's dangerous and he's big, and I wouldn't want to fight that guy. I'd try to avoid it. But I tell you what," he goes, "if Brock Lesnar did to me what Ryan did to Galvao, me and Brock Lesnar are fighting right there. Because I don't care if I lose. I have to, just out of principle. I have to fight, man." So you have to, and he's
but he started it.
He started it. I know.
He said some stuff he probably thought he shouldn't say.
Gordon Ryan tried to shake his hand or something, like at the match or something, and says, "Hey, man, whatever." And
Galvao slapped his hand.
Yeah, slapped it. It disrespected him, and that's what started it. And then I guess he was trying to. Maybe talk to Gordon Ryan after that, and Ryan was pissed because he'd been to which I get, and dude, I couldn't believe it, man.
I couldn't either.
Because the first time I saw the caption, I was like, Gordon Ryan slaps Andre Galvao. I go, oh, this is probably two guys dressed up like Gordon Ryan and playing, because guys, athletes would do that stuff, and they go, yeah, we got you, and that's what I expected. But then I saw the video, I'm like, I rewound it, and I'm like, wasn't everybody talking? And sure enough, man, it was like a fucking slap heard around the world, and I was like, man,
and then he hit him again.
Gordon Ryan's a beast, man. And dude, and he's taking all comers. And I tell you what, people are real quiet. I mean, he beat Buchecha, he's beat Galvao, he's beat them all, man. I think Pena. Those are three big heavyweights.
That Danaher guy's a genius.
Which one? Oh, you're talking about
John Danaher. His
oh
coach.
yeah. You're talking about the DDS, Danaher Death Squad. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think that's a Renzo Gracie school.
Is it?
Yeah, I think that's where Danaher got his jiu-jitsu from. It's Renzo Gracie. Renzo Gracie. Yeah, Renzo Gracie. Yeah, Renzo Gracie. Yeah, and it's
Danaher wears his rash guards everywhere.
Everywhere. It's funny, man. Special one for dates and all that.
Dates and then.
But Gordon Ryan, you know, at first I was like, he's kind of cocky, but then I watched a lot of him, and he's actually not. He's just very confident, and it's like he said.
He takes it seriously.
He takes it very, very, very seriously. He's like, I'm going to those tournaments to try to submit, and he's talking mad shit because he's like, these guys, these big names, guys, that have a big name, they'll go out there and they're okay with winning on points, and they'll get a position, or they'll get out of a position and they'll get points. He's like, that's not what I'm going out there to do, man. And you can tell, if he doesn't submit, that's really, if you look back to Rickson Gracie's, if you look back at his history of the early,
they're all submissions.
Yeah, that's what it's about. It's about submitting your opponent, putting them to sleep, or submitting them, forcing them to give up. The point, as a matter of fact, I think, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Rickson Gracie is pretty critical of the current state of competition jiu-jitsu, where guys get really good and they get up in rank and everything like that, and it's a point-based system. And I think I'd read somewhere quite a while ago that he said, jiu-jitsu has steered away from what it was originally intended for, because when it started in Japan, centuries ago, it's a form of self-defense, okay? And it has evolved, obviously. It's worldwide.
Sport jiu-jitsu.
Sport jiu-jitsu as opposed to self-defense jiu-jitsu.
Ruthless jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, because there's stuff that you can't, obviously, I've never been in an official jiu-jitsu tournament. Obviously, there are rules, there are rules in judo, because the judo rules used to be much better, but the IJF, I don't like the current president. And I think he was under pressure from the Japanese, who have a lot of influence over the International Judo Federation. Had them take away leg attacks. Like, you used to be able to do double legs, single legs.
You can't do those anymore?
Can't do them anymore. You can't do them anymore unless they are, because...
Unless they're what?
Unless they are a counter to something, or unless something is done before that. Yeah, used to be, like, for instance, there's a move in judo called morotegari. Morotegari. Well, morotegari is a double-handed reap. It's a double leg takedown, is what it is.
Shoulder in.
Yeah, just double leg takedown. Going friggin' behind the knees, and different ways to hit it, different angles, how you get in there. But it used to be legal in judo. Single
I still can't believe it's not legal. I'm still struggling with this. They don't.
It's been that way for years, man. Wow. And it upset a lot of people. And their argument, the IJF's argument, was with Marius Wieser, who's the head of, and he looks like, if you ever look at Marius Wieser and you watch his mannerisms, he reminds me a lot of Vladimir Putin.
Really?
He just looks like one of those friggin' corrupt backroom guys that I've just never liked him, man. He came on board, and then they changed the rules. They took away all these attacks, like, for instance, the fireman's carry. It's kataguruma, and there's a million ways to get into it. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful throw. I think you can do it now, but it has to be thrown as a counter to something else. That was gone. You can't do it as a direct attack. You get penalized for it. I think if you double leg somebody in judo now, just off the grip or whatever, they'll probably give you a Shido for it. You'll be -1 going in. If they don't disqualify you, I don't know, but they've taken away leg attacks. I mean, it's just so they're just doing. There's just a lot of throwing now on the feet, and their argument was to get it away from wrestling, because a lot of the Eastern Bloc countries, Georgia, Kazakhstan, a lot of those break-off old Soviet states, Ukraine, wrestling and sambo and judo are really, really big in those, huge in those countries, and hardcore dudes, mangled ears, man, and can wrestle really good, and they're just, I'll tell you what happened. From somebody that watched judo come, just stayed with it, watched it forever. It just never gets old. It's beautiful to watch. Is the European countries were catching up with the Japanese. They're starting to beat them. And the Japanese always have a top-notch squad. They always have. It came out of Japan, so that's making the Japanese national team. That's like, I don't know, Jesus Christ reaching down and touching you as a Christian and saying, "You're on my team, dude." It's that big. It's huge. They start teaching it when you're, they teach it in schools, man. At the high school level, there's people making it on the national team, and there, if you make the national team, you earn a salary like you do in the NFL.
Wow.
Yeah, like it's a living. There's a contract. Like if you're on the national team, you're a household name. The Japanese judo association or whatever pays you a salary to live, and then you can, I guess you can do your endorsements and all that kind of stuff. It's the same as being a professional athlete over here, as it is in a lot of European countries. I remember meeting a judo player from Turkey. Said in Turkey, if you make the national team, and especially if you win if you win Olympic gold or if you medal, I can't remember, but the government they buy you a car, they buy you like a condo, and you get like benefits like for the rest of your life. Yeah,
big deal.
So that's why,
combating that.
That's why, exactly. That's why it's so big in those countries. That's why they can get young people involved at a very, very young age to strive to make it to the worlds, win the worlds, and win Olympic, because it's not just about being a top-notch athlete and winning and doing something that you love. You can actually make a living doing it. Can't do that here. Can't do that here with judo. Very hard to do it in jiu-jitsu. You really have to be, I don't know. To make a living doing it, I would think in jiu-jitsu, you'd definitely have to have some competition pedigree. You obviously would probably have to be, I would think, maybe a black belt at some level, on some level. And you people are going to look you up before they start giving you money. They're going to want to make sure, before you can make do you know who Henry Akins is? Okay.
I do not.
Okay. Henry Akins is a black belt under Hickson Gracie. I know him and his brother's name is Matt Akins, and he's a purple belt. Who is he under? He might be under Seth Norman. Seth Norman's a black belt here. And now I don't know if Matt Akins is at Redline with Ty Gay. Ty Gay's a black belt.
Yeah.
That's Redline Jiu-Jitsu in Edmond. But anyway, Henry Akins now lives in Las Vegas. He did live in Southern California. Last time I saw Henry was when I was in Southern California, and he came in. He met me and my buddy who lives out there. Used to live in Malibu, just moved to Huntington Beach. But Henry used to live out there, and he's Hickson Gracie's youngest black belt ever. And all he does is he travels around the world and teaches jiu-jitsu. And he's got you can get on Facebook or you can Google hidden jiu-jitsu, and there'll be a guy named Henry Akins. Let me pull him up here real quick. but he's always posting stuff on Facebook. Really good guy. But he comes in town and he always has workshops at Redline when he comes in. He comes in to visit his family, and he'll have clinics over at Redline. And I think he also used to date Ronda Rousey.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I went in to Lovato's for the first time.
Mm-hmm. That's him right there.
And he had belt. Okay, I've seen him before.
Yeah. So I think him and his brother, I think they're from Edmond. But anyway, yeah, he's a really cool guy, man. But he knows his jiu-jitsu, man. Real good. So.
Well, when I joined, it was several people were around the city, and I went to their gyms, looked around,
Mm-hmm.
and when I went to Lovato, he was like the closest to my house.
What got you interested in jiu-jitsu, man? Anyway, you just got interested and decided you'd do it.
Well, I heard about it, and I was just like, I started listening to Joe Rogan like I'm 17 or 18.
You watch MMA?
I do now.
Yeah, I've been watching.
I didn't used to.
Yeah, I've been watching it since day one, since the
God,
first UFC.
Wish I would have got in, but I was just like, I'm not.
Well, there's a lot of people who watch it who don't. Who don't. There's a lot of people who watch UFC who aren't athletic at all. Like I said,
yeah.
the couch. I mean, it's got a lot of fans. I mean, but there's a lot of fans that actually train in some kind of martial art that also watch it as well. So.
Well, when you train, obviously now I'm looking at it from a different perspective.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, look what he's doing. He's trying to
Mm-hmm.
do this. He's trying to do that. He's
Yeah.
So
gonna hop in for an arm triangle.
Oh,
Yeah. So
he's taking his back. He's going to get a rear naked. It's
Yeah.
over.
It's one reason I like Gordon Ryan, man. I like the whole back control, man. He's all about. He's a rear naked choke specialist.
And he does that too. He'll tell you, "Hey, I'm going to take your back."
Yeah.
And I'm going to choke you out, and you can't prevent it.
Prevent it.
That's insane.
It's insane, man. Well, those high level guys are like that. You got Carlos Machado down in Dallas. I believe that's where Lovato got his ranking from.
Yeah, he's Machado.
Yeah, Machado. Yeah, they've got fight camps like that all over Southern California. Like for instance, I think he was with Machado, and then he ended up under Saulo Ribeiro. Yeah,
Yep.
Ribeiro. So Saulo and Zanji. They're up in Southern California. I think Atos under Galvao. I think he's Southern California too. But they're all over the place. 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu is
Eddie Bravo is
now. Yeah, he's insane. Now, I had back surgery, man, in 2019. Before then, I had started doing training under the learning the 10th Planet system down at Pat Burris's in Moore. And there was a guy there. God, what's his name? It's been a while. I can't remember. Skinny white dude with a bald head. But dude, who
there's a ton of those.
Yeah, a ton of those, man. But his God could always get my arm, dude. Could always get it.
It's like, man, when I first started.
Yeah, man. I just, and it would just be the same damn cross arm lock, man, and twice his size, man. Pretty good defense, man. I mean, he couldn't choke me. He would hit my damn arm, dude. And I was like, wow, man. And he's pretty impressive, man. Pretty impressive. I can't remember his name. I wonder if he's probably still down there. But yeah, the 10th Planet system, the rubber guard.
Rubber guard.
Yeah, the rubber guard, mission control, and all that. The names are pretty colorful. But Eddie Bravo, man, shit's.
That's funny how that Joe Rogan talks a lot about that. He's like,
Eddie,
when you're. Joe Rogan's a black belt.
Mm-hmm.
Been doing it for 20 years.
Yeah.
And he just toys with people, all the time. Other black belts.
Yeah.
Other purple belts, just toys with them, plays with them, chokes them, arm bars them, just the whole 9-yard triangle. And then Eddie Bravo is the black belt, and he just toys with Joe Rogan like he's an infant.
Yeah, man.
And it's like choke, 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 arm bar.
It's crazy, man.
It's just like, it's nuts.
Well,
it's fun. It's so fun to go in there.
Yeah.
I love rolling with high level guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You have to roll with everybody, man. Different body types and different skill levels. Otherwise, it'll really keep you from learning. It's the same way in judo, man. Whether standing or newaza, and a lot of times there'll be guys in the dojo that will avoid working out with certain people because they don't want to get beat. And it's insane. Yeah, and it's not about that. It's not about that. What they don't understand is that's
how you learn.
That's how you learn.
I love that's what I'm there for, is to get beat.
Well, but what they don't understand, it's a mental.
It's
thing.
An ego.
I mean, you're supposed to check your ego at the door, man.
You're gonna get checked.
Yeah. And getting upset when you get beat, that's how you learn, man. I just never understood it. So if you go in with an open mind, like you just don't care, man. I mean, if you happen to get one in on somebody and they get one on you, you're a student.
That's how it is.
That's just how
it is.
You get
tapped. You're going to get tapped all the time.
Yeah, that's how it is. But see, that's where the ranks, the belt ranks sometimes they get in the way, because every now and then, a lower ranked belt will get a higher ranked belt. And the higher ranked belt student, to them, it's just like a slap in the face, and they've been embarrassed and they've been humiliated, and
that depends on the gym.
Yeah.
Because at our gym, it's like, hey man, that's just gonna like Jocko says, jiu-jitsu works. If somebody makes a move on you and you don't defend it properly and you make a mistake, you're gonna get choked.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with getting choked,
no.
and to a lower belt or whatever, it's just going to happen.
Yeah,
but when you roll again with them, you slap hands and you go again, it's a death match.
The thing is, yeah, if you're overranked, which and that's a school's fault. And that's, I don't care what martial art it is, man. If you've got they call them McDojos, where a guy's paying the dojo $150 a month, and it's coming out of his bank account. He's been around for 8 months or a year, whatever.
$190.
$190. I'm sorry. I remember when $100 was a lot.
That's true.
He'll
give you that stripe.
Yeah.
Give him a stripe.
Get that straight. He's been around, man. He shows up, but that's not the point. Where's his skill level? And
versus his age.
True.
Because
true.
Me starting at 50, I'm not going to be.
Well, you're rolling with some 21, 22, 3-year-old,
25-year-old purple belts,
monsters, man.
Yeah. Killers.
Yeah, killers.
And it's like,
killers.
I'll be a black belt, but I'm not going to tap your 28-year-old brown belt.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm a 58-year-old black belt. I've got game.
Age gets everybody. I mean, it does. And how you train is really, really important too. Like, man, now, I mean, I've had back surgery, I've had shoulder surgery, elbow surgery, foot surgery.
Are you can you still roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can still roll, but I'm very conscious of what
your training partner understands what's going on.
Yeah, I'm mainly drilling now, man. I'm not trying to take those kinds of falls we used to take in judo where you're being. No, I'll be back under the knife real quick, man.
And they teach those jiu-jitsu throws at our Brazilian jiu-jitsu dojo.
Oh, the judo throws?
Oh yeah. Because they
should
do this. They dig that hip in.
They should.
And you go right over and bam.
They should, man. They should.
And we've got the mats that are sprung, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and the crash pads really help too. The large crash pads, that are air compressed. You hit them, and they, you need those.
Oh, God.
You need those to be able to. People need those.
You can chunk anybody
to be able to throw just maximum, with full Shiai, and see how it feels to throw somebody like that. And then the other student needs to know how it feels to hit the ground that fast, that hard, and they can critique each other. So well, how did that feel? And they get back up off the ground. See, that's the thing. The partner's taking care of them. But yeah, white belts are the the ones that kind of that bump in there, and and how do I? Oh man, I get stuck with this guy. You're like, oh, hey, don't slam my head in the ground, and they do it anyway, and then
and they don't know what they're doing. But I was fortunate. He had a executive class, which is like over 40, and a lot of them were ranked. So it was really calm. There's some cops in there, some firemen, and then there's some wrestlers, and it was kind of comic relief.
Yeah.
It's really, really funny, and it's really good. And they didn't, a couple of the guys, they're all in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
So they were like, hey, we're just going to go and let roll, take it easy. I tweaked my elbow or whatever a couple of weeks ago. We just go light, a little flowing. And they're like, and I'm like, what do I do here? And I'll get in an advantageous position and be like, hey, what should you do? How do you defend? Because I'm just learning.
Yeah.
The thing is you watch those Joe Rogan Jiu-Jitsu stuff and with Eddie Bravo, and you watch and Jocko, if you want to start, learn what to expect and how to act and the etiquette over and over and over again, so you know what to do when you walk in there. You don't want to be that douche that's just in there to kill somebody, because you're going to get checked.
Yeah, and you shouldn't be that way anyway, man.
I went in there humble, ready to get strangled.
People that are like that probably have all sorts of problems outside of the dojo too. You have to, if it's anything, man, that that I tell anybody that's gonna, they're really, really interested in martial arts, and they're the ones that are interested. Who they are. Like I said, everybody over a beer wants to start doing martial arts. You run into them on a Saturday, find out what you're doing. Hey man, they'll talk to you about it all night. Come on Monday, when you call them or for practice, hey man, we're gonna, they're not answering their phone. You know what I'm saying? But for the people that are like, yeah, man, where's it at? You know who they are. You know who they are. And now with the internet, you can find out anything. Hell, they don't even have to tell you where it's at. It's like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu schools in Oklahoma City. They're all going to pop up, and you count them, you'll figure out which one. Because if you want to learn, you will find it. It's kind of like the old Kevin Costner movie, and you'll build it and they'll come.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You could build a dojo and not say anything. People driving by be like, yeah, man, there's
I'm going there Saturday.
Yeah, and people just walk in. And I love that people just, no one refer. I just walked in, man, just to, and a lot of times those people that just walk in like that are the ones that stay with you forever. Because a lot of people don't. It's a big complaint in jiu-jitsu that people quit at purple.
Man, they
blue
quit
and purple.
Yeah, white or blue or purple.
Yeah.
Once you're deep into your purple, you're in.
Yeah.
But I can see why. Just depends on what's going on in your family life.
Well,
how far you are, what priority you're going to put it in.
But also people come in and they find out it's work.
Oh yeah.
Here's the thing about something you love to do. You'll find the time.
Yeah.
You'll find the time.
Yeah.
I made the mistake of telling somebody a long time ago, well, I don't have time. What the response was? Make time.
Make time.
Make time.
I've got that problem in my life group. A lot of people
it's
complain.
Like, make time, yeah.
Oh, I got to go here, I got to go there. Man, it's 1 hour every 2 weeks. You can't do that. You ain't in.
So if you love something, it could be bird watching, man. We all have our hobbies, man. You like to golf, paint, martial arts. You like boxing. You like, you friggin', you'll make time. You'll find it. Trust me, man. You can't afford it. Because I remember back in the day when classes were like $50 and $60, where $65 was a lot. And guys didn't have that money. They're like, man, I can do 40, but I can't do 60, whatever. And they would tell the, tell the instructor that, and the instructor would like, oh, okay, well, tell you what, you keep coming, instructor will have them sweep the mats,
clean up, whatever.
You'll find a way.
Find a way. But they're always showing up. And the instructor wants that. They want that kind of student, the guy that shows up all the time. Because a lot of people fall off. A lot of people fall off, and a lot of people fall off when they find out that it's actual work. You know, they'll turn on a UFC, and they'll see a smooth Ronda Rousey rolling armbar and go, man, I want to learn that. And then they start talking to somebody who's at a jiu-jitsu or judo dojo, and they're like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do it, man, you know. And they show up, and they're not learning that on the first day.
No.
Because that's a very advanced move, dude. Well, we need you to do these falls over here first, and then you're gonna run, and then you're gonna do this. And then you're going to learn this move, and
you got to learn what a guard is. And passing the guard.
Yeah, arm lock. That's much later.
No,
you know, you can't build a house without a foundation. Your fundamentals. Jiu-jitsu has fundamentals. Boxing has fundamentals. Judo has fundamentals. I don't care what it is. You have to learn the fundamentals first. But a lot of people see the finished product on TV, and they see Randy Couture at freaking 40-something years old, and he's, you know, built like a brick shit house, and he's, you know, whipping ass and all that, and they think that, you know,
he's trained for 30 years.
Yeah, well, you think, former Oklahoma State. I mean, you think you're gonna walk into any whether it be a wrestling room or whatever, and you think that you're gonna go in there and then they're just gonna show you some moves, and you're gonna leave in 20 minutes, and you're gonna come back, I don't know, 3 days later, and you learn another new move, and then you're just gonna leave, and then you're gonna be able to do that technique to somebody who's resisting? No,
sir.
No, it's not gonna happen. And I would see it all the time. It'd be like, we would make bets, you know, as a new guy.
See what kind of new guy he is.
No. We'd be like, how long you think? Yeah, 2 practices. No, I bet you he leaves today, dude. You know, because we'd look and we'd scope them out. It'd be funny because so many of them, because people don't like flying through the air, man, and landing.
It takes getting used to.
That's the difference about you. But even jiu-jitsu guys, man, there's a lot of them who don't. They would be, watch out for that judo throw, man. And they
oh, man.
It
was like 4 months in when we started those throws, and I was like, that's a different animal right there.
They're crippling, dude. They can be crippling. And a lot of people can't handle it. And see that's the thing. It's like, how much do you really want to learn? It's like somebody who really wants to learn boxing. Like, I've always been a boxing fan, but I've never ever signed up for a boxing course, and I'll probably do it at 52. Like, I just want like 30 days or 60 or 90 days to just learn some fundamentals, even though
the basics.
Even though I do a pad work and stuff and hit the bag and all that, but I want somebody who has been a boxer to really just show me some fundamentals, man.
Have you seen the videos on YouTube, Shirley, of boxers, professional boxers?
Oh yeah, I watch
them all. And then
the
rookies.
Watch them all the time,
want
man.
To fight.
Yeah. Those are hilarious. But more, the ones that I really watch are the actual technique. The guys that are talking about, you know, the square circle and the footwork. Like the Mike Tyson the early Mike Tyson videos, the Customado videos, man. I can watch those over and over and over again. But all those names, man, and my favorite one is of all time is obvious. You know, there's been a slew of them, but my favorite one of all time is Sugar Ray Robinson, born Walker Smith Jr. He was a tap dancer. And the way that he fought, just look at some of his videos, man. Him fighting Rocky Marciano. I think it was. Did he fight Marciano? No. Marciano was heavyweight. It was. I think Jake LaMotta is the one that he had the 3 fight. I mean, he just fought. And back then, they fought like every month, man. It's completely different than they do now.
It's once a year.
Yeah. I mean, you've got some studs out there now. I mean, you know, Shakur Stevenson. What's his name? Tank. Gervonta Tank. What's his last name? I can't remember his last name. Errol Spence Jr. You know, obviously, Manny Pacquiao is going to be fighting soon. You know, there's a bunch of names out there. But the greats, the Sugar Ray Leonards, the Marvin Haglers, the Tommy Hearnses, the Muhammad Ali's, and the Fraziers, and all that. You know, we now have access to a lot of their training footage, and you watch them train, and you're like, wow. And they're jumping rope, man, and they're freaking jumping rope for 2 hours.
Do you ever jump rope for about 1 minute?
Yeah. And I actually love jumping rope. I'm actually getting better at it because I used to just be horrible. I always trip myself up and everything like that. And it's really a timing thing. And I mean, you know, skipping off one foot to because I would do both feet, and both calves would get really, really tired really quickly, and you can't continue. But it's the rhythm and the timing. Off one foot, yeah. Because you can hop on one foot, the calves start to get tired, then you go to the other one, and then you can just do that. And it's great. It's great cardio, but it's a skill. It's a skill that has to be worked on, and it's tiring, and it's frustrating, and it's tough. You know, just like the speed bag. You know, the rhythm. You know, I can get it a little bit, but I'll miss, and it'll be off. Hours and hours. You have to commit to that. And
before we go, what's like from 0 to 100 in like judo? Because I know like karate is like an average of 2 to 3 years from white to black belt. What's it in judo? Just your average everyday Joe.
Okay. Not competing?
Yeah, like if I go in there at 40 and say I want to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu, in judo, and I'm ready to take my time and do it, and I'm going to train twice a week, 3 times a week.
3 times? I'd say 3 times a week. No, less than 5 years, man.
5 years.
No, less than 5 years. Yeah.
You'll be a rookie black belt.
Yeah. Shodan. Yeah. So, and it really just, and guys are different. I mean, you're not going to get it before 5 years. If you're competing, you can get it in 3. If you're competing all over the place, and I mean, you're winning competitions and you're picking it up.
So people need to know that. They need to.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that going into jiu-jitsu.
Oh, jiu-jitsu's even long.
It's 10.
It's longer. Yeah,
it's 10 years to black belt.
Yeah.
But if you're a purple belt in 6 years, you're an assassin.
See, man, in me and a late great heavyweight training buddy of mine, man. I still can't believe he's gone. But anyway, he and I, man, we were like, I just want to get to black belt. I just want Shodan, first degree. And after that, I mean, because you know, guys, oh man, I want to get my 2nd degree. I want to get my 3rd degree, and I'm like, the fact that I made it to black belt, and this was after, umpteen years, man, because I would train, beer and girls, man, I swear to God, and I'd come back and I'd train hard, and I'd drop on, I'd come back, and I just got to the point where I remember when I got my brown belt, I didn't want it. Because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna have a target on my back. Everybody in the dojo is gonna be trying to kill me, so what I did was, I got approached about it. This happened at black belt too, at Shodan level 2. Was one of the instructors says, hey, you're there. It's a time. We need to set up a test. Your skill level is there. Oh yeah. And I would just blow them off and ignore them. I'd keep coming to practice, and I would never say anything about it. And came to practice one day, and all of a sudden, well, after class today, we're having your brown belt test. All right. Did it, and it was a deal. We all on our TGI Fridays, whatever, celebrated it, but. Then years later, whatever, from my Shodan, it was the same thing. I mean, you're ready for it. I'm going to give you some paperwork. You need to. And a funny thing happened with it's actually not funny. I was awarded my black belt by my instructor, but before I sent my paperwork into the USJA, me and him had a huge falling out. Big to it. We haven't even spoken since then.
Wow.
So I got my black belt. Skill level was there, still there. But I never got my certification because you have to be tied to a school. And the school is no longer, even if it was OKCDT judo, and even if it was still open now, I still wouldn't be speaking to them. So a school has to send in your paperwork, for you to get. So I think what I'm going to do is go back to a school that I used to kick around in, and I know it's called Winsong Dojo.
Okay.
And I know the guy that runs it, Nick Lowry, great guy, big guy, and I think he's 5th degree. He's red and white belt, and go down now. So I'm going to see, because I worked very hard to get it over the years. I put my time in, man, and so I'd like to get my certification from the USJA, but it has to be linked to a school. There's not many judo schools open. As a matter of fact, I don't even know of any in the city except Winsong. And then the other one I know of is just USA Stars. You got jiu-jitsu schools all over the place, and they'll throw some judo in there. But a true judo dojo, I don't know of any. And I've had friends that used to be in judo classes with me at OKCDT, at USA Stars, and they're like, man, I don't, I want to get my daughter into judo, whatever. Where should I send them? I'm like, man, I don't think there's any schools anymore, dude. Your best bet is to take them down to USA Stars, and man, I want to drive them more. I'm like, that's the best place to take them. If you really want them in, but they've got jiu-jitsu down there. They've got upstairs, you go and they got cages and shit, MMA. They're weights and everything. So you can just drop them off and they're going to learn some shit. And they got judo and they can bounce into freaking, jiu-jitsu and, because, that's where I took 10th Planet at, so they could do it all there, but if they're in the city, like, and because judo class, it starts at 6. You try to get down to Moore by 6 o'clock, and fight all that traffic, and it's just not convenient for a lot of people.
It takes just a determination.
Yeah, to drive all that way, man, and I get it. There's just not I don't know of any judo school here except Winsong, which is real traditional, by the way. The mats it's a white canvas mat with padding underneath. It's soft enough to throw on, but it's a very, very expensive mat. It's old school, old school traditional judo, and it's really just self-defense judo. It's old school. So I'm thinking about just contacting him and see Nick Lowry and seeing if I can get them to send in my certification papers, and so I can get my actual certification, because I was awarded the black belt but not the certification from the USJA because of the falling out that I had with my instructor, and it was a big falling out, dude. So yeah,
I guess so, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah.
Man, John, it was
real, brother.
Good time having you. I'm glad you came, and gosh, we could still go for another hour or two, but
yeah, we'll have to. As a matter of fact, I was going to tell you, man. I know, I wanted to grab a beer, but I've actually got to go to. I've actually got to go visit my brother. I'm going to have dinner with him. But man, let's
tell him I said hey.
I will, man. I will.
We'll reconvene this here in another month or so.
Let's do it, brother.
God.
I'm right by you.
God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks again, buddy.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, man. I love your setup here, and hopefully soon I'll know what all this stuff means and
oh yeah, you're gonna do your voice stuff.
Yeah,
we gotta have you back to talk about that, and then we've got much more high school stories to talk about that we didn't even get into.
Absolutely, man. Well, I'm glad, man. You look great.
You do too.
Like
and the
your
red
house.
shirts. It's funny how the red shirts Both of us wore red shirts and we didn't even know it.
Telling you, man. Telling you. And and we're still around. Old school Harding buddies, man.
Yep.
It's a good time. I remember you all used to wear OP.
Ocean Pacific.
Ocean Pacific. That
From
was
Anthony's.
Yeah, that was a shit back then. Remember that? And Levi's 501 button flies, brother.
Street fit.
Yeah, man.
80s, baby.
80s. They rule, brother. All right, man.
Thank
Kurt.
you, sir. Thank you, sir. Man, that was awesome.
Awesome, man. Good stuff.